Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ ORION NWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the Seattle Mariners versus the New York Yankees. First pitch is going to happen here in about 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get into these starting lineups. Happy Thursday, everyone. And on the thumb, on the left, center fielder stud Julio Rodriguez. And on the right fielder and DH superstar Aaron Judge. Now let's get into the starting lineups here first for the visiting Seattle Mariners. Leading off for the Mariners at shortstop, J.P. Crawford. Batting second, playing center field, Julio Rodriguez. Batting third, catching today for Seattle, big dumper, Cal Raleigh. Batting cleanup, batting fourth, left fielder, Randy Arozarena. Batting fifth, DHing for Seattle, Jorge Polanco. Batting sixth, playing first base, Luke Raley. Batting seventh, playing right field, Dominic Canzone. Batting eighth, playing second base, Cole Young. And batting ninth, playing second base, third base, Miles Mastrobuoni. And on the mound for the Mariners, 8-4 record with a 2.77 ERA, an all-star for the very first time in 2025. It is Brian Whoa. And now let's get into the starting lineups here for the home New York Yankees. Leading off for the Yankees in left field, Jason Dominguez. Batting second, playing center field, Trent Grisham. Batting third, DHing today for New York, Aaron Judge. Batting cleanup, batting fourth, right fielder, Cody Bellinger. Batting fifth, playing second base, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Batting sixth, playing first base, Ben Rice. Batting seventh, catching today for the Yankees, Austin Wells. Batting eighth, playing shortstop, Anthony Volpe. And batting ninth, playing third base, Jorbit Vivas. And on the mound for the Yankees, with a 1-1 record, an ERA of 7.45, it is Marcus Stroman. And we're going to be shooting for 20 likes within the first hour, 50 at the halfway point, and we're going to be shooting for 100 likes and 100 on the Dono train. Let me get all situated here. First two games have been pretty rough for Mariner fans. This is probably the roughest stretch that we're going to have throughout the year. A 3-game set on the road against a very good New York Yankees team. As soon as this series is over, we fly to Detroit and go against the #1 team, arguably in baseball, but #1 in the American League, the Detroit Tigers. Then we have the All-Star break, and right after that, the Houston Astros, #1 in the AL West. So I don't think it's going to get any harder than that. And again, hopefully we can win today so we prevent the sweep. And we have to shoot for 2 out of 3 against Detroit. But realistically, we'll probably only win 1. And again, 2 out of 4, is sometimes, what you look at. But again, when you have to win possibly 2 games out of 6, not ideal, but again, it's a lot better than losing 6 straight and going into the All-Star break. So we'll see where it all, kind of plays out here later on in the matchup. Stroman and Wu on the bump here today. And let me get everything situated here, and we're going to get going in just one moment. Shout out to my boy Cole Young for getting his first MLB home run in his career yesterday. And after reading the report, it sounds like that after, the game was over, they were able to meet up, with the fan there. And, they didn't really negotiate, on, a bunch of different things like bats and cleats and jerseys and, all of the above autographed, how that typically goes. There's usually some kind of negotiation, even if it ends up being the first home run, but not too sure if it was a Yankee fan or a Mariner fan. But it sounds like Cal Raleigh stepped in and signed a few things so that way he could get the ball back. And again, Cal Raleigh, a class act, not only for the Mariner organization, for his teammates as well. So we're on a commercial break. And as soon as we get back, we should be right back into the action. Happy Thursday, everyone. (51-41) record for the Yankees. 10 games above 500, 28-17 at home. Very dominant. Mariners 48-44, 23-23 on the road. So obviously we have had some road struggles here in 2025, but we're a much better team than we have been in the last few years. And game 1, we ended up losing 10-3, which we could have lost 10-0. Yesterday, we put on more of a battle offensively, but bringing, Carlos Vargas in pretty much ended the game, and we ended up losing 9-6. And it kind of makes you wonder if they would have went with anybody else, maybe the game would have been 6-6 at the end, and more than likely the Yankees would have won. But, it's just kind of unfortunate when a bullpen issue comes up and a player costs you a game and does it repeatedly. But, hopefully today will be a different outcome, and hopefully we can get the dub here today with our all-star pitcher, Brian Wu, our number 1. And again, we got a 3-game set with the Tigers, and we're going to have to face Skubal. Not going to be an easy test, but again, I'm always up for the challenge. Global broadcast here on MLB Network. Appreciate every single one of y'all that has liked, subbed, donated, commented, shared. We only need 41 more subs to hit 21,000. We've been averaging somewhere between 5 and 15 subs daily. And again, the viewership has increased dramatically. 3,700 regular viewers in that 3,700, 3,800 range. We're getting the female viewership up from 5% to 12%, which is great. And shout out to all of these countries that have been stepping up lately. Obviously, the United States is always going to be at the top, but Venezuela, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Philippines, Canada, Nicaragua, Japan, Panama, Colombia, New Zealand, Australia, just to name a few. Shout out to any individual that is watching from that particular country or area. We really appreciate the love and the support that we have been getting. All right, we're just about to get started here with first pitch. Dave in the building, what's good? Ronald in the building, what's good? Yeah, I mean, obviously, it didn't really play out the way that we would want, but, I think most Mariner fans are, realistic. They know that the Yankees, regardless of the record, regardless if they're in first place or in second place in the division, when you play in the Bronx, it's not going to be easy. Even playing against this team in Seattle, at home at T-Mobile. It's going to be a grind. It always is. They have a lot of good players, so hopefully we can find a way to strike early and often, and hopefully Wu can go 6 solid innings, and then we can use our top guys, Brash, Bazardo, and Munoz. And if we're able to use our 3 top guys in the pen, we should be good. First pitch to J.P. Crawford, in play, grounds out to second, throw to first, 1 away. I appreciate that, Dave. I was hoping that we would have a little bit longer of an at-bat, but JP trying to strike early, but doesn't connect. We'll see what we get here with batter number 2, center fielder Julio Rodriguez. First pitch from Marcus Stroman to Julio Rodriguez, takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. Yeah, and like I said, for anybody that's new to the channel or people that have been with me, for this long run, I've been grinding for 13 years. This is my 9th year on YouTube, so next year will be 14 years total, 10 on YouTube. And, again, we just try to make baseball fun and give you something unique and a little bit different based off the thumbnails and the presentation, as well as my knowledge of the game. And I appreciate all the kind words. It means everything. 1-1 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike to Julio Rodriguez. 2-1 pitch, low and away with the slurve ball. Slider curve, Stroman loves that pitch. 3 balls and 1 strike to Julio Rodriguez. Julio, take the walk if it's there. 247 average, 11 homers, 44 ribbies, OPS of 696. And again, his offensive stats would not allow him to make the All-Star game. He made it based off defense pretty much only. And is that fair? No. George Springer and a few others were more worthy of an All-Star bid this year, but we'll take it. And hopefully Julio can ride with that, and we can find a way to use him today to win the game. 3-1 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. Count is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Julio Rodriguez. Yeah, and we're not going to see Vargas today blowing the game. 3-2 pitch, Julio, slow dribbler, grounds to the pitcher, throw to first, 2 away. They got the Cal Raleigh lucky jersey on right now. So again, we have to get the dub here today. It's got to happen. Again, we got roughed up in game 1. We could have lost 10-0, but we fought at the end. Dumper had a homer late. We lost 10-3. I was proud of the late surge. And then we ended up getting 6, with multiple home runs. But again, just not enough, and with Vargas blowing the game at the end. And also Dan Wilson, putting him in and not using Brash or Bazardo when we're down. You have to be able to use a good guy in the pen, even when you're down 1-3 runs, to keep that lead 1-3. Otherwise, you bring in a Vargas, it'll go from 3-6. And that's exactly what happened, and we lost. And I don't think we've put in a solid bullpen guy when we've been tied or down all year. And that's something that Dan needs to learn. 1-1 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 1 strike to big dumper Cal Raleigh. Let's go, Cal. We're going to need that electricity today, baby. And we'll take singles. We'll take doubles. But we're looking for home runs, and we hopefully can get that here today. 2-1 pitch, low and at the knees. Count now is 3 balls and 1 strike to big dumper Cal Raleigh. Even though Wu is our ace and our big pitcher, is it possible that he gets fucked up and gives up 4 runs like the others? Yeah, it's very possible. 3-1 pitch, and Cal takes the walk. But I think that this will be the game that we win. The magic number will be 5 runs, 7 to 10 hits for the Mariners, and Wu has to give up 3 runs or less, preferably 0 to 2. But again, we know how good the Yankee bats have been lately, and that's not even just Aaron Judge, it's everyone. And, Jazz Chisholm Jr. had 2 homers yesterday, but hopefully we can find a way to compete. The Yankees are going to score, and, even if that means we win 5-4 or 6-5 or something of that nature, I think any Mariner fan will take it. We want to prevent the sweep. First pitch to Randy Arozarena, takes a strike looking, 0-1 count with the slurve ball. Let's go, Randy. 0-1 pitch, right down the middle, fouled off by Arozarena. No balls and 2 strikes from Stroman to Randy. And again, nothing really to worry about with Stroman. 1-1 record with an ERA of 7.45. So one of their worst, based off ERA going against our ace, our best. And again, this should be a game that we score a little bit more, and hopefully bullpen decisions are made. I mean, we didn't really get a chance to use Brash, Bizzardo, and Munoz yet. So again, now you just have to hope that we do good enough to be able to use them in that way that we're not down by a few runs at that point. 0-2 pitch, fouled off. No balls and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 2 outs. We're in the top of the first, global broadcast here on MLB Network. And Charles is 5'3". That sounds pretty solid. I definitely could see something of that nature. 5'3", 5'4", 6'5". It would be very shocking if the Yankees end up getting 2 runs or less. But again, you never know. If Wu pitches a gem, it could be possible, that we end up holding them to 3 runs or less. But, we'll wait and see. 0-2 pitch, and Randy strikes out swinging. Nice job there by Marcus Stroman. We're not haters here. We're going to make sure we're giving credit where credit is due, and let's see who's up next here for the Yankees in the bottom of the first. And we're definitely going to need a couple home runs, against Stroman if we have any chance. Leading off for the Yankees, left fielder Jason Dominguez. Batting second, making his debut in the series, center fielder Trent Grisham. And batting third, DHing today instead of playing right field, Aaron Judge. And on the mound for the Mariners, Chinese-American-born, the Asian sensation, 6th-round pick, all the way to All-Star, 8-4 record, 2.77 ERA, our number 1, Bryan Woo. And it's pretty cool, to be able to see the evolution of the pitchers. We've seen Logan Gilbert make an All-Star game. We've seen George Kirby make an All-Star game. Now we have Bryan Woo. So you're not going to see Castillo because he's kind of at the back end of his career. You're not going to see him. Will Bryce Miller be able to evolve and have a great year one day? We hope so. It would be cool to say, hey, Bryce Miller made an All-Star game at some point, but at this point, we don't really know if he's got good enough stuff to make it to the All-Star Classic, but we're hopeful. And then we have some others that are waiting in the wings that might be able to do some damage in the near future, like Durangelo, our draft pick that can pitch from the left side and the right side, but we probably won't see him for a couple of years. All right, man, we need a solid outing here out of Bryan Woo. We ended up losing bad, 10-3. Game 1 could have been 10-0, but we fought back. Yesterday, the bats were alive, but again, the decision on bringing Vargas in cost us the game, and we ended up losing 9-6. And on the bright side, we ended up seeing some history made. Cole Young hitting his very first MLB homer, and that definitely was a special moment, I know, for Cole, even with the L. Are you talking about like at the games or just like in general as a collector? Because I got a lot of Mariner autographs, as a collector, but really the only person that I have gotten a chance to meet, like face to face and get an autograph on a rookie card and get pictures, it was with Ken Griffey Jr. when I was 7. And, that kind of changed my life forever. If that moment didn't happen, maybe I'm not here today. I'm always going to be a big sports fan, but, when you end up meeting an icon and a legend and a Hall of Famer, it definitely changes you. First pitch from Woo to Dominguez, fouls that one off, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, high and away with the 4-seam fastball, 1 ball and 1 strike to Jason Dominguez. Daniel in the building, what's good? 1-1 pitch, high and away, 4-seam fastball, 2 balls and 1 strike to Jason Dominguez. 2-1 pitch, high and away. Come on, Woo. You're trying to paint the corner, but you're missing. 3 balls and 1 strike to Jason Dominguez. That's a good question, Supa. Obviously Skubal is the best pitcher in the game, and he was last year as well. But I would say this year, I would say that Bryan Woo is a top 10 pitcher in MLB. I don't think I would say he's top 5 because I think there's other guys that have been better record-wise. ERA is amazing. And obviously with 8-4 record, that's still going to be one of the best. But I think it's fair to say that, he's a top 10 pitcher. What number exactly? I would have to compare, stats with every other pitcher and then, come up with a number. But if I had to take a guess, I would say somewhere probably around 7 or 8 or 9, realistically. But again, it could be 10. I have to compare. But definitely top 10 pitcher, at least for this year in 2025. First pitch, high and away to Trent Grisham, 1-0 count. That man in the building, what's good? Captain in the building, what's good? Let's try to get to 20 likes here within the first hour after you end up having Dominguez walk. And again, we have to limit the damage of getting guys on base. And hopefully we can get something here, a double play or a strikeout on Grisham before we get to Judge. 1-0 pitch, fouled off right down the middle. 1 ball and 1 strike to Trent Grisham. 1-1 pitch, fouled off right down the middle. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Wu to Grisham. That man in the building, what's good? But what makes Wu's story so incredible is that if you look at a lot of the other pitchers the Mariners got on the staff with like Logan Gilbert and George Kirby, some of these other guys are very high draft picks. Some of them even, first round. So for a guy to be a 6th round pick and then to make an all-star game, a couple years after coming up is incredible. Like how many guys could actually, it's almost like kind of like, I don't want to compare apples to oranges here, and again, obviously their careers are different. But when you start to think of like 6th round, 7th round, the first name that kind of comes to mind football-wise is who? Tom Brady, whether you love him or you hate him. And I'm not saying Brian Wu is Tom Brady. Not at all. But just the simple fact that they got drafted late and they're making the most, of their draft position, using it as motivation and getting onto a good squad and kind of making a name for yourself. So, again, you're not usually going to see a pitcher, drafted that low, make an all-star game within the first couple years of his career. And that is, due to his work ethic, his skill set, and obviously having a guy like Cal Raleigh behind the plate. 2-2 pitch, high and inside, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Trent Grisham. 3-2 pitch and another walk. And again, not a typical Brian Wu start, walking the first couple guys. He's probably a little bit nervous here. But again, we have to make sure that this guy right here, Aaron Judge, doesn't do anything crazy. One swing, it could be 3-0. Now we got runners at first and second with no outs, and this is our best pitcher. But again, it shows you, even if it is our best pitcher, that doesn't exclude the Yankees from not going off and, roughing him up for 4 or 5 runs before he exits. I hope that doesn't happen here today. Or like a Brock Purdy. Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant, a guy like that as well. That's another good comparison. Probably a better comparison, than the Brady, but that was just the first one, based off a successful athlete that got, drafted way too late that made a name for themselves. And hopefully Cal and Wu can get on the same page here. And now Cal's going to have a mound visit, and they're going to try to strategize the best way to try to prevent an Aaron Judge 3-run blast, bottom line, or a big RBI. First pitch from Wu to Judge. Big swing and a miss, high and away, 0-1 count. Yeah, Jacob, this is a stitched Cal Raleigh City Connect, and I got it at the game on the 4th of July. It's my very first Cal Raleigh jersey in the collection. I got a few Ken Griffey Juniors. I got a few Julios, but again, do not have any big dumpers. And when we went to the game, we both decided to get the same jersey, and we were lucky enough to get our size, even though it took us going to the second store in the stadium to get it. 1-1 pitch, low and away, 2 balls and 1 strike with runners at first and second and no outs. But it definitely, it makes you feel like you're worth $1 million. Sometimes when you get a really nice quality jersey, regardless if it's, sewn or Mitchell and Ness, when it's a high-end jersey and you put it on, man, it definitely makes you feel, electric. It makes you feel special, and you got a little swag and a little aura. But, definitely have been, waiting, on getting one. But, it kind of came down to like, okay, which one? And, also you have to look at the sizes there. 2-2 pitch, and Judge strikes out. There we go, Woo. Nice job. There we go, Brian. Way to be. And again, you couldn't get out Dominguez or Grisham, but you got out Judge. Nice job there by Brian Woo. First K of the night. Nice job. Next up, a guy that has been extremely hot. 14 consecutive games, I believe, with hits, something of that nature. And if it gets one here, it'll be 15. Got to limit the damage to Cody Bellinger. Runners at first and second now with one out. First pitch from Woo to Bellinger. Big swing and a miss on a four-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour, 0-1 count. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, you got Ramirez, you got Quan. I mean, there's a few guys that you could go after, Jacob, that would be a nice jersey. So, we actually have quite a few Guardian fans that are a part of this channel. Zay is one, Jacob's one. And if you're one now, Supa as well. But, we have quite a few. We got quite a few fans from every team. Just kind of depends on, who we play at what point and what's going on in their lives at that time, if they want to come through and show some love, or if they're busy watching their own game if they're not playing the Mariners. 0-2 pitch, high and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Cody Bellinger. 281 average, 13 homers, 48 ribbies, OPS of 809. Lamar or Josh Allen? I think they're both great. And again, they both have had to run into the Kansas City Chiefs, right? It's, Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones and Andy Reid and Spags. But now the Chiefs are getting a little bit older. And at some point, once the Big Five breaks up, Andy Reid, Spags, the defensive coordinator, Chris Jones, Travis Kelsey, and Mahomes. So once you break up the Big Five and it goes down to the Big Four or the Big Three, you would assume at some point the Chiefs will not be in the Super Bowl. And, you're going to get, hopefully, the Bills that will make it at least once or twice. The Ravens hopefully make it once or twice. And there's a few other individuals, if they improve some things on their team, like defense and offensive line. The Bengals with Joe Burrow. Obviously, we know Burrow's a great quarterback as well, but it's a team game. And, you just can't have a good quarterback and think that's just good enough. So, but that's a tough one. I mean, obviously, both guys are incredible for what they do for their franchises. And, again, for fantasy pick or, just in general, I mean, you could really go either way. I think Josh Allen is going to be a little bit, more accurate. Most of the time, even though early on accuracy was an issue for him, but also, losing Diggs and, having to kind of, go to a bunch of, individuals on the squad that might not be big names, at this point, that might be a little bit of a challenge. And, Lamar can run, from the 20 to the 20 and run away from people, the most electric quarterback runner, and then obviously Allen's great on the red zone and the goal line as well. So not really sure if you can say one or the other. It's kind of a personal preference. Both are considered top 5, and they will be for as long as they continue playing and they don't have any serious injuries. 3-2 pitch, and that one is fouled off right down the middle. Counting it's full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Cody Bellinger. 3-2 pitch, in play, and Bellinger grounds out into the double play, and that's exactly what we needed, and we get out of the inning unscathed. And you got to think, when you walk the first 2 batters, definitely could have been a disaster right from the very start, right? We could have easily been down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0, especially if Judge would have homered with those first 2 guys being walked with Dominguez and Grisham. So thankfully we get the double play and something kind of goes in our favor. Let's go to the top of the second and see if we can get on the board. Nice job by Brian Woo, fighting the adversity and finding a way to strike out Judge and get a double play on Bellinger. Great job. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. We're looking for 20 likes within the first hour, 50 at the halfway point around the 5th inning, and then 100 on the likes by the time the stream is over. And we're shooting for 100 on the donos on the dono train. Let's see who's up next here for Seattle. Next up for the Mariners. In the 5-hole, DHing Jorge Polanco. Batting second in the 6-hole, first baseman Luke Raley. And batting third, 7-hole hitter, right fielder Dominic Canzone. Let's go, baby. No, not the last series. So we have this 3-game set on the road against the Yankees. We're probably only going to win 1 out of 3 or none if we don't win today. But I kind of thought we're going to shoot for 2, but realistically, we're going to win probably only 1. And then we play the Tigers next, the number 1 team in baseball, the number 1 team in the American League. So we're going to shoot for 2 wins out of 3, but realistically, we're probably going to only win 1. Hopefully we don't get swept. Then we have the All-Star break, the home run derbies on Monday, All-Star game on Tuesday. I'll be doing streams for all of those. And then after the All-Star game is concluded, we play the Astros. So it doesn't really get any harder than this stretch that we have right now. Yankees, a playoff team, right? The Tigers, the best team in baseball, best team in the American League, and then the fucking Astros, number 1 in the AL West. So again, it might not be the prettiest, baseball from the Mariners here in the next week or so, but hopefully we can play up to the competition and, we can find a way to get a couple dubs here. The last thing that we want to do is go 0 for 6 in these last 6 games against the Yankees and Tigers and then start off, losing a few games against the Stros after the All-Star break. First pitch to Jorge Polanco from Marcus Stroman. Takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. Anna in the building, what's good? 1-1 pitch, in play, and lined out to first, 1 away. Down goes Polo. And hopefully Polo will come alive at some point here in the series. And we got 1 game left here today. Next up, first baseman Luke Raley. First pitch from Stroman to Raley. Takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. Jackson Dart to Josh Allen is a little ridiculous because Josh is one of those special players that doesn't just, grow on trees. You're not going to find, guys like that. Now, could Jackson Dart turn into a Josh Allen type? It's possible, but I definitely would not do the comparison of Dart to Allen. A lot of times these guys are going to be reaching, a little bit. So, Anna in the building, what's good? 1-1 pitch, fouled off, low and away by Luke Raley. 1 ball and 2 strikes with nobody on and 1 out. And it shows you, how hard it is to play quarterback in the NFL. It's not only you have to be great and you have to be mature and you have to be hardworking and watch film and be a good teammate, but you have to have a good head coach, a good offensive coordinator, a good defensive coordinator. You have to have a good offensive line. You got to have a good defense, good special teams. So it's not just, I'm great and I'm going to dominate the league. There's plenty of guys that have been dominant on the college level, even winning a Heisman, but not doing shit in the NFL. And again, that list is very, very long, and we'll see where it goes. But I feel like the quarterbacks in this upcoming draft, not very good. One of the weakest quarterback drafts that we've had in a minute. 2-2 pitch, low and away. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Luke Raley. Well, I saw that they had Brett Rooker that got announced this morning. And there is the walk on Raley, but I believe that we only have 1 spot left in the Derby. And again, I know people are talking about Yelich and whatnot, but I think if I could have 1 last spot in the Derby, why not Eugenio Suarez? I mean, the guy is mashing home runs on a mad level. If we're not going to get the polar bear Pete Alonso to compete and we're not going to get someone like Ohtani, might as well try to have someone that's going to be fun to watch like Gino, but I don't know. We'll see what they decide. Julio is there, but I think they don't want 2 competitors from the same team, competing in the event. So Julio is out. So we'll see where it goes from here. Unless everyone has, been picked at this point. I believe it's 8 spots. So first pitch from Stroman to Dominic Canzone, high and away, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch. Low and away with the sinker, 2 balls and no strikes to Dominic Canzone. 2-0 pitch, Takes a strike looking right down the middle. 2 balls and 1 strike with a runner at first and 1 out. Top of the second, we're knotted up at 0. And it shows you like how important it is to be able to have good culture. And the Browns probably have the worst culture, in the NFL. There's a lot of other teams that may have better records. And every once in a while, if Myles Garrett and that defense play great, depending on who the quarterback is, yeah, you might be able to make a playoff run like Joe Flacco did a couple years ago. But, again, if you're going to bring in a guy that's like a sexual predator like Deshaun Watson, that already tells you enough about the organization where they don't know what they're doing and obviously have a lot of dumb individuals in that building making decisions. 1-1 pitch, in play, and Canzone singles to right. Rayleigh hustling and getting to third, safe. Here we go. We're in business, baby. Next up is Cole Young. Congratulations on Cole getting his first MLB homer against the Yankees in his career yesterday. And based on the articles that I read late last night, that he was able to get the ball back with no negotiations of autographed jerseys, cleats, bats, things of that nature. But Cal stepped in and gave a couple autographs to the individual to swap for the ball. Pretty cool, and obviously I would assume, whether you're a Yankee fan or a Mariner fan, you probably would want a Cal Raleigh auto rather than a Cole Young auto. So first pitch from Stroman to Young, fouls it off, low and away, 0-1 count. Yeah, and if they were smart, they would have stuck with Baker. But again, sometimes, you have to leave, and Baker actually leaving the Browns was the best thing for his career. 0-1 pitch in play, and Young is staying hot. Singles to left. Rayleigh hustling from third, and that is 1-0 Mariners. Let's go. Cole Young, I like it, baby. Nice RBI, and Luke is going to be hustling from third. 1-0 Mariners. This is our game, baby. Let's go. We like that. We like to be able to get on the board early. Next up for the Mariners, Miles Mastrobuoni, filling in for who, Ben Williamson. And obviously Miles, we know, has been pretty good off the bench. Our best bench player all season. Whether he plays in, one game and has to take 4 days off before they actually let him pinch hit again or start. He's been pretty consistent with limited at-bats, the complete opposite of Dylan Moore, where he was great at the beginning of the year with 8 home runs and pretty much nothing for a couple months besides that 4th of July game that I went to when he finally got off the schneid and homered. First pitch, takes a strike on the line to Mastrobuoni from Stroman, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, high and away, 1 ball and 1 strike to Miles Mastrobuoni. 1-1 pitch, low and at the knees, low and away with the sinker, 91 miles an hour by Stroman. 2 balls and 1 strike from Stroman to Mastrobuoni. Top of the second, 1-0 Mariners. Cole Young with an RBI single to left to bring in Luke Rayleigh from third. And again, that's going to give us a decent chance to be able to compete here today. Two-one pitch, fouled off right down the middle. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Miles Mastrobuoni. Come on, Miles. Let's go, baby. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 20 within the first hour, 50 at the halfway point, and we're shooting for 100 and 100. And 2-2 pitch, Mastrobuoni strikes out swinging, 2 away. That's pretty rare for Miles. You're not going to see him strike out too often. Hopefully he'll be able to get something later in the matchup. All right, we're back at the top of the order. Didn't get a hit at his first at-bat. Swung at the first pitch, being overly aggressive, trying to catch the pitcher. Stroman by surprise. Let's see if J.P. Crawford can get a nice RBI here to make it 2-0. And again, when's the best time to homer? After you just homered. And again, he homered last on Father's Day. And then he ended up getting a homer yesterday. Let's see if JP can stay hot like Cole Young did. And let's see if JP can make some magic here. JP hits a home run here and we go up 4-0. We're going to win the game. Yankees can still battle back, but with a 4-run lead early, that should be, obviously good pace, to what would happen later in the game if that were to happen. Best case scenario. But even here, I would be okay with just, a single, a walk, if he gets plunked but not injured, we just want to keep the, inning going. But we probably have a better chance with JP getting an RBI than Julio early in the game. But, Julio is very streaky. You never really know. If we get it to bases loaded and Julio comes on, it's not like he's going to hit a grand salami, but he might be able to get an RBI single. But let's see if JP can get it done here first. First pitch, JP Crawford from Marcus Stroman. Low and away with a slurve ball, slider curve combo, 83 miles an hour, 1-0 count. Yeah, singles add up. Agreed. I'm a big fan of bunting, and all of the small ball stuff, and again, sometimes you got to do the things that other teams aren't willing to do to win. 1-0 pitch, high and away with the slurve ball again, slider curve combo. Kind of a newer pitch that's been implemented in MLB the last couple years. It's not been around for a long, long time. And obviously you have to have the right grip to throw it and a right teacher or mentor to pass it down to you. 2-0 pitch, takes the strike looking, paints the corner beautifully, low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike from Stroman to JP Crawford. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not sexy. It's like drafting an offensive lineman in the NFL draft in the first round when there's all these amazing like running backs and wide receivers. But if that offensive lineman, ends up turning into a Hall of Famer and you end up winning a Super Bowl because of that guy, like with me, with Tristan Wirfs for the Buccaneers, even though he had a minor surgery a few days ago, he'll be ready within the first month. It's worth it. Sometimes things don't need to be sexy, for it to work. And again, if you notice, if a bunt is correctly placed, you can get on, it seems like almost 80% of the time. And JP grounds out to second, and that is out number 3. We leave some stranded, but we still get on the board and get a 1-0 lead. And sometimes that's how it goes. Once in a while, you'll be able to add on early and get 2, 3, 4. But beggars can't be choosers. You got to crawl before you walk. And again, us getting a 1-0 lead, based on what's happened in the last 2 games against us, I think any Mariner fan will take that. All right, baby. Good start. 1-0 early on Stroman. Let's see who's up next here for the Yankees. 2 home runs yesterday. Don't even think about it today, baby. In the 5-hole, playing second base today, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Batting second, in the 6-hole, first baseman Ben Rice. And batting third, kind of a sneaky catcher, Austin Wells. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize like how good of a power hitting catcher he can be at times. He is no big dumper Cal Raleigh, but if you pitch it right down the middle, he'll take it yard. And you have to be very selective on the pitches to a guy like Austin Wells this year in 2025. Let's go, baby. 1-0 Mariners. And if you want a quick recap on what happened there, Cole Young singled to left with Luke Raley on board. Comes in home from third, 1-0 Mariners. And we love Luke Raley's hustle, baby. Running to first, running from third to home, and running on defense. Let's go. There we go. Captain getting us started on the Dono train. I appreciate that very, very much. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks, and a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. $5 holla, 95 to go to hit the goal. Appreciate you. Let me know what you want to do photo-wise, and I got you. First pitch from Brian Wu to Jazz Chisholm Jr. High and away, 1-0 count. Bottom of the second inning, 1-0 Seattle. Global broadcast here on MLB Network. 1-0 pitch, fouls it off high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Jazz Chisholm Jr. Supa with his first dono to the channel. Appreciate you. Every dollar counts. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. Let me know what you want to do for a photo. So if you've been kind of paying attention to how it works here on the channel, if you end up making a donation of, $1 to whatever, I can throw up an HD or 4K photo of your favorite player or your favorite thing at the time. So You got a Guardian player that you want to showcase, like Steven Kwan or Jose Ramirez, let me know, and I'll be able to throw that up once we get into a break during the commercial break. Bottom of the second, 1-0 Seattle. It kind of just gives an opportunity for the fans that are in the room to be able to kind of showcase their personality, based on the photos I can bring up, so we can kind of get to know the people a little bit better and who they root for, what they like, what they don't like. And you don't really get that aspect on any other streaming sports channel but mine. So definitely want to make sure we give back to the fans. So 1-2 pitch, fouled off right down the middle from Jazz Chisholm Jr. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Wu to Jazz. Luis Ortiz, I got you. 1-2 pitch, and Chisholm Jr. strikes out swinging. Another punch out there by Brian Wu. Let's go, baby. Nice job by Wu. We love it. Let's go. Bring that electricity, baby. Nice job, Brian. Next up is Ben Rice. We got a couple nice Ks for Brian Wu, and the Ric Flair will come out if needed. Let's go. Nice job, Wu. First pitch to Ben Rice. Takes a strike looking high and away. 0-1 count. Wu on the mound. Ben Rice in the box. Felix Hernandez, great choice. But I appreciate all the love and support, and I don't think the average person really realizes like how much work is involved, to do a broadcast by yourself. It's like I have to produce the show, on the fly. I have to do play-by-play and color by myself, on top of watching multiple broadcasts, multiple stat pages, and then on top of that, focusing on the chat. So, and also, bringing up HD 4K photos as we're going along through the game on who's up and who's pitching. And, I think there's a lot of people out there that recognize it, but also a few others that may not realize how much hard work really goes in on a daily broadcast here for the NWSF. 0-2 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ben Rice. Bottom of the second, 1-0 Seattle. Wu on the mound, Rice in the box. I appreciate that. I mean, there's a reason why you don't see anybody else on YouTube doing what I'm doing. Again, it definitely, it takes a creative mind, but it also takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of grit and hard work too. One-two pitch. Low and at the knees. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Wu to Rice. 2-2 pitch, and Rice flies out to left. 2 away. Next up, in the 7-hole, catcher Austin Wells. Appreciate that, and again, we just try to give people something that they've never seen before on YouTube for baseball. And I do everything: baseball, basketball, football, hockey, college basketball for March Madness, college football, WWE, AEW, NASCAR. So again, for me to be able to do all those things, that means I have to do a lot of reading, a lot of film study, a lot of research. But again, I like to pay attention to the small details. And, the more, that you can provide, it's not only for me, but it's for you guys as well. First pitch from Wu to Wells, takes a strike swinging. Big swing and a miss, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike from Wu to Wells. Well, I typically will do, Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday night, whoever's playing. And then, if there's time, for me to squeeze in a morning or afternoon game on Sunday, I may try to do that from time to time as well. But obviously with the Mariners season, crossing over into college football and the NFL, since if you make the playoffs, it'll be in October and we'll be like a month in to the NFL college football season. I'm going to try to smash out as much content, as possible, but also not trying to, get burnt out, based on what I'm doing. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and another punch out there for Brian Wu. Let's go, baby. We like that, Brian. Way to Ric Flair drip on their ass. Let's go. Nice job. Way to bring that electricity. And that is out number 3 for Brian. Woo! Let's go. And again, it's, about being, creative and being able to express yourself. And I saw a post on social media how YouTube is going to be cracking down, on a lot of streamers that are, doing, kind of like copied content and AI stuff. And so, it really is going to force a lot of people to do original content like you're going to be getting here on the daily. End of the second inning, 1-0 Seattle. Home run derby is set. So the last individual, is it Jazz Chisholm? Is that who the last individual is based on what we saw early? So it's Cal Raleigh, James Wood, who I absolutely love, Buxton, who's having a great year, Ronald Acuna Jr. injured, and obviously, starting to come back to his natural form, O'Neal Cruz, who's got the some of the top exit velo numbers for his home runs this year, Junior Caminero, Brent Rooker, the absolute stud for the Athletics, and then Jazz Chisholm Jr. is the last spot. Honestly, I would have rather, seen Gino, get in. I think that would have been more entertaining, and whatnot. But again, should be interesting. And obviously, I'll be, pulling for Cal Raleigh. And if I was going to be pulling for another player other than Cal, 100% James Wood. Again, this team, the Nats, they've had a lot of talent. Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Juan Soto, and now they get another superstar stud that may not play their whole career there, but James Wood is one of the most up-and-coming, exciting guys. I think that Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, would have been a better choice than Jazz Chisholm for the last spot as well. But, again, there's a few guys that have been balling out, and, I love Jacob Wilson on the Athletics. Starting the All-Star game this year as a rookie, he'll win Rookie of the Year. Love me some James Wood, and I love me some PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong. Those are probably my 3 favorite players not on the Mariners this year. A little bit of everything. But again, the All-Star teams have been set, and the home run derby now is set, and can't wait to be able to do that on Monday and Tuesday. Let's go to the top of the 3rd inning, and let's see who's up next year for the Mariners. It is Julio Rodriguez. Let's go, Julio. First pitch from Stroman to Julio. Low and at the knees. 1-0 count. Pitch. In play. Popped up and flied out to right. 1 away. Down goes Julio. Maybe we can get one of these before the game ends. I hope so. Next up, big dumper, Cal Raleigh. Let's go, Cal. We'll take a single. We'll take a double. At the end of the day, though, we're going to be looking for one of these. Tridents up. First pitch, fouled off, right down the middle with the sinker. 0-1 count. Let's go, Cal. Yeah, I don't know if Wu will be the starter and whatnot, They definitely have a lot of guys to be able to go through to decide who. I mean, Skubal, if we're really being real, Skubal should be the starter, I mean, Skubal is the best pitcher in the game. So I don't see any way that Brian Wu starts a game. Hopefully he'll pitch, an inning, and not just be left on the bench the whole game. 0-2 pitch, fouled off. No balls and 2 strikes to big dumper Cal Raleigh. But at least that we won't have a Astro or Ranger manager, because those guys are biased against the Mariner players. It's like we had Logan Gilbert and Andres Munoz, and they didn't even get a chance to play. And that's because you get a Ranger or Astro manager, they're haters. But if we get the Tigers manager to be the manager of the American League, he doesn't have any, thing really against Seattle. So we should be able to see our Mariner players play. Julio, Andres Munoz, Brian Wu, and Cal Raleigh obviously is starting. So. Pitches outside, 1 ball and 2 strikes to big dumper Cal Raleigh. 1-2 pitch. That one is fouled off with the curveball by Stroman, low and at the knees. 1 ball and 2 strikes with nobody on and 1 out, 1-0 Seattle lead. And if you look at like Skubal, and he gets run support, and then you actually look at Skeens, he doesn't get any. So if Skeens was on the Tigers, Skeens might be, like 8-0, in certain starts, and overall would probably have a crazy record, like if Skeens was on the Tigers, he probably would be like 10-2 or something of that nature. So it really does show you, even if you're a great pitcher, you've got to have people around you as well. And, the Pirates don't have anybody that can hit on a regular basis. Yeah, O'Neal Cruz might be in the home run derby, but he single-handedly can't carry the team. So, I mean, the Mariners proved that. We won 6-0 when I was there on the 4th of July, with Brian Wu, and 1-0 with Castillo and Kirby. So, 1-2 pitch. Fouled off by Cal Raleigh again. He's grinding out this at-bat. 8th pitch coming in here shortly to Big Dumper Cal Raleigh. Top of the third, 1-0 Mariners, MLB Network Global Broadcast. Yankees won Game 1 and Game 2 convincingly, and hopefully we can find a way to get this third game to prevent the sweep. Yeah, Skeens didn't pitch in that game that I went to on July. I mean, ultimately, that's what I wanted, is to see like, Skeens and Wu or Skeens and Gilbert. But that's when we ended up calling up Logan Evans late and everyone got pushed ahead. So initially, we were supposed to see Luis Castillo, but then it ended up being Brian Wu, and that was, the better choice. That's the only star that, me and my best friend have not got a chance to see yet. And now we've kind of checked off all the boxes. We've seen really all the main starters for the Mariners now. Pitch fouled off. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Big Dumper Cal Raleigh. Most home runs, MLB catchers all time. Cal Raleigh, 129. He's already first in MLB catchers and home runs all time, and he's only been in the league a couple years. What does that tell you about Cal? By the time that his career is all said and done, Cal Raleigh, if he doesn't have any major injuries, will be in the Hall of Fame and will be recognized as probably the best catcher in this generation, and even maybe higher than guys like Buster Posey, Mike Piazza, and Pudge Rodriguez when it's all said and done. And we know how good Yogi Berra and Johnny Bench, were back in the day. But, Cal has got a chance to be like the modern day Ken Griffey Jr., but catcher, which is crazy. 2-2 pitch, and Cal finally strikes out swinging after a bazillion pitches at that at-bat from Stroman. 2 away. It's okay, Cal. Hopefully you'll be able to get him next time around. Next up, in the 4-hole, left fielder Randy Arozarena. Come on, Randy. And if we're being honest, based on who's, most deserving, Randy has been playing better ball than Julio in the last month. And Arozarena on the first pitch singles to center and gets to first. If you actually look at the numbers, Randy is more deserving based on what he's done in the box. But obviously defending, we know Randy sometimes is lazy in left field. Every once in a while, he'll make a spectacular ESPN top 10, catch. But a lot of times, he's kind of lollygagging and, he's not really putting out full hustle and effort. And, we'll see where it goes. And again, I think I'm happy that Julio made an all-star game for the 3rd time. But realistically, even me being a hardcore Mariner fan for 40 years, I think George Springer, even though he's a rival of us from the Astros and the Blue Jays, he is the most deserving guy that didn't get, the nod. He was the guy that should have gotten it in for the American League and the National League. It was Seiya Suzuki. You can't be that good with home runs, like 24 home runs and like almost 80 ribbies, and you don't even make the fucking All-Star game. And Julio's numbers are nowhere even near that. And obviously Julio made it based off defense, and I get it, but you got to keep it real, right? First pitch, high and away, 1-0 count to Jorge Polanco. 1-0 pitch, high and away with that sinker. 2 balls and no strikes from Stroman to Jorge Polanco. Nice single there by Randy Arozarena, who's been hot. He's been one of our best players since June 11th. And again, he's able to get singles, doubles, and he's been hitting home runs at a freakish pace. For a guy of Randy's abilities. It almost reminds me of the Randy on the Tampa Bay Rays, back in, 2020, around that COVID time and, right before we ended up getting him, a few years before that. But, when Randy was one of the faces of the Rays. 2-0 pitch, fouled off, low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike with a runner at first and 2 outs, 1-0 early Seattle Mariner lead. I do. I'm such a believer, and I think I'm a pretty good evaluator in sports overall. I got really good predictions that typically come true and ESP, but Polo in play and ground out to first, taps on the bag, and that is out number 3. Let's go to the bottom of the third, 1-0 Mariners. But when Cal Raleigh in his rookie year starting in 2022, when we brought up Kirby, Julio, and Cal, and when Cal ended up hitting that home run against the Athletics, and we ended up making the playoffs for the first time in 20 plus years, as soon as he hit the home run, I went on eBay because I knew, at some point, you got to grab these cards early, and if you wait too long, they're going to be, obviously increased in value. And I went through a lot of graded cards, didn't really see anything that I liked based off the style of the card. And for the first time ever, I actually bought a non-graded card, because if I usually buy a rookie card auto, it's usually going to be PSA or BGS, and I'm going to buy it graded. But this was the first time that I actually bought a card not graded, because they had 0 graded Cal Raleighs of this particular card. So I said, I like this autograph and the way that it looks the best. And I think I spent like $75, on it, which is obviously a deal now. And again, I don't have any others. I have a lot of Julios. I got a shitload of Julio rookie cards. And, I usually give away a lot of my stuff to my best friend. Once I have it for a while, I like to pass on some of the memorabilia, but I got a BGS 9.5 Julio rookie, worth like $350. I got another PSA, Julio rookie auto that's, maybe $250. Had another one that was worth $150 that I gave to my best friend, but I only have the 1 Cal at the moment. Charles in the building. What's good? $2 holla. Great picture there of you and the wife, or you and the girlfriend there. Appreciate you. Charles' first dono to the channel. Let me know what you guys want for photos, and I'll get those up here as soon as I can. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks with a little Cactus Jack. Appreciate the support, and I appreciate you. Nolan Ryan, great choice. Oh, yeah. I only buy from, certain individuals. I'm not going to buy from just anybody. So came in perfect condition, and it's sitting on my dresser as we speak. First pitch from Wu to Volpe. Fouls it off low and at the knees, 0-1 count. And from the individuals that have donated Captain Supa and Charles, I know Charles wants Nolan Ryan, but as the comments keep kind of coming up and through there, just type it in when I ask next, and then I'll be able to get that hopefully at the next commercial break. 0-1 pitch, and he pops out to first, 1 away. Multitasking at its very best. Down goes Volpe, 1 away. Next up in the 9-hole, Jorbit Vivas. First pitch from Brian Wu to Vivas, fouls it off right down the middle, 0-1 count. Oh, 1 pitch, high and away, 1 ball and 1 strike from Wu to Vivas. And since I have one available here, one of my favorite Nolan Ryan photos from back in the day. And it's crazy to think a player like Nolan, who's considered the best pitcher of all time. Obviously, you got lefties that are great, like Sandy Koufax and the big unit, Randy Johnson and Steve Carlton. But if you look at the strikeouts and all of the records, he's got the most no-hitters, the most one-hitters, 2-hitters, 3-hitters. And to think that a guy that never had Tommy John, and he pitched from 1968 to 1993. Nolan Ryan pitched in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. It's fucking insane. And his arm never fell off. I don't know if he's human or not, but it started off obviously with the Mets, and then going to the California Angels, right? Then going to the Houston Astros with that throwback jersey that a lot of people recognize, and then finishing the career off with the Texas Rangers there. So I'm very informed with Nolan Ryan. Appreciate you very, very much. 1-2 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Wu to Vivas. 2-2 pitch, high and away with a 4-seam fastball. Tries to paint the corner, just misses. 96 miles an hour by Wu. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes from Wu to Vivas. 3-2 pitch, fouled off. Count still full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Vivas. Luis Ortiz, Supa, I got you. Three-two pitch, and Vivas strikes out looking. Nice job by Brian Wu. Let's go, baby. Nice job, Brian. Next up is Jason Dominguez. 0 for 0 with a base on ball. Bottom of the third, 1-0 Mariners. And it's nice that, we haven't given up, 3, 4, 5 runs early. Nice that we actually scored first as well. First pitch to Dominguez. Big swing and a miss. 0-1 count. And down go the Yankees. There we go. For out number 3. We'll take that. I know people were wondering, with the scandal, of like the gambling, like how people can be investigated for a pitch. And the reason that certain guys get investigated is that, if you have a bet for top of the third inning, first pitch is going to be a ball, and then you got your friends in on it or whatnot, and then you end up throwing a pitch that doesn't even go into the catcher's mitt, and it goes as a wild pitch behind the backstop, then it's going to kind of open the eyes of certain individuals where you're trying to win money, from like DraftKings or some of these, locations that are offering, the betting websites and whatnot. So, but I ended up seeing a couple of the things and footage there as I try to grab a couple of these photos here quickly. Get you a couple Luis Ortiz, see if I can get another Nolan Ryan. At some point here, it says I have too many photos, so I got to delete a few here. Give me a sec. And let me know, Captain, what you're wanting for a photo, and I got you. But I do love me some Jose Ramirez and Stephen Kwan on the Guardians. All right, let me delete those. Top of the fourth inning, 1-0 Mariners. There's another Nolan. Next up for the Mariners, Luke Raley. First pitch from Stroman to Raley, fouls it off, low and away, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees, 1 ball and 1 strike from Stroman to Raley. Yeah, you got to understand, bro, I'm a fanatic. So all I do is, I read, I watch film, I walk 5 miles a day, 7 days a week with my pup, and I grind here on the channel. So, again, I do a lot of reading and a lot of film study because I got to not only be an expert on the Mariners, I got to be an expert on the whole league, and not only the MLB, but the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, college football, NASCAR, WWE. So, and there is 1 away. Down goes Luke Raley. But again, there's going to be more individuals trying to work the system, based on, you can literally bet on almost anything now, and it's going to corrupt, the players, the referees, the umps, the managers. There's going to be a lot of temptations, and again, they say, oh, betting is just for the fans. But as we know, betting is not going to be just for the fans. Sometimes the people that are playing these games or associated with these games, being on the team, they're going to want a piece of the pie as well. But, again, if you're not smart about it, you're going to get caught. Like if you're going to be making bets, you don't make any bets in your name, which some players have done. Like they have your social security number and your bank account. So like, where do you think the money goes if you win? They know who you are. So if you're going to be making like these certain bets, regardless if you're an NFL player that got suspended, they know who you are, so obviously you get some of these athletes that aren't the brightest light bulb in the bunch, but again, if you're going to do bets, you do it with someone that's not you, right? Top of the fourth inning, 1-0 Seattle. We got a mound visit here now, and we'll see if that is the end here for Marcus Stroman or not. I mean, Marcus has done pretty good. I mean, again, it's 1-0. It's not like the Mariners are up 5-0 right now. What hustle by Luke Rayleigh. Felix Hernandez, I got you. Yeah, I love this series. Again, we have a lot of history going back with the Ken Griffey Jr. era and even before that. But this is probably my my favorite, matchup that's not in the division. All right, Stroman's just trying to work it out there. First pitch, high and away to Dominic Canzone, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch. Low and away. 2 balls and no strikes to Dominic Canzone. Let's go, Dom. But I mean, I love the Astros, and playing them. It brings out the best in us, for our number one rival, Rangers as well. And I enjoy the Angels and the Athletics. Even if their records aren't the greatest, they always play us tough. And then I think the one team that I like outside of the A's, the Angels, the Rangers, or the Astros would be this series. Even though, they might beat us up, most of the time. But when you can win against the Yankees, it's a good feeling. It's not going to be easy. And, when we play up to the competition, we get our best ball. 1-0 pitch. And Canzone with a ground rule double. Here we go. Nice job by Dom. Let's go, baby. Next up is Cole Young. Let's see if we can get Cole with an RBI single here. Top of the fourth, 1-0 Mariners. That's easy. I wouldn't be able to pick any other team in the American League. Obviously Mariners are my team, and they've been my team for 40 years. Even though I might look, somewhat young. I'm 43. I've been watching since I was about 3. So, 40 years in. And but it would be easy. It would be the Dodgers in the National League, not just because they have Shohei Ohtani, but because my dad, he did grow up in LA and Hawaii, in the Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale era, in the 50s. So my dad has been a hardcore Dodger fan, since the 50s. And again, he watches every game. So Northwest Sports Fanatics not only is me, my dad, obviously, he's not a part of the channel itself, but he has that same type of mindset like myself, where we, watch every game, and, we are dedicated to our teams. As Cole Young grounds out right there, 2 away. Next up is Miles Mastrobuoni. Let's go, Miles. Yeah, I'll put up the uncle. I'll put up the card that I got, and then you can decide which one. And it doesn't have to be necessarily the most expensive. For me, it's usually like I want to see what it looks like. And Mastrobuoni on the first pitch. Here we go. Singles to right. Canzone scores. 2-0 Mariners. Hell yeah. That a boy. And I'm telling you, this is the best bench guy that we have, and maybe one of the best bench guys we've had in the last 5 years. Miles Mastrobuoni. Way to bring that electricity, baby. 2-0 Mariners. Let's go, baby. We're winning today. First pitch to JP Crawford, low and at the knees. 1-0 count. Should have been called a strike, but called ball there. Top of the fourth, 2-0 Seattle. 1-0 pitch. Low and away. Paints the corner. Another pitch that could have been called strike, but called ball. 2 balls and no strikes to JP Crawford. We had Cole Young single to left. Rayleigh scored from third in the top of the second inning, 1-0 Seattle. And then moments ago in the top of the fourth, Mastroboni singles to right, Canzone scores from third, 2-0 Seattle. This is exactly what I wanted to see here today. And on top of that, we're going to homer more than likely at least once today. And if we get a homer, hopefully it'll be like a 2-run jack or a 3-run jack to really put the pressure on the Yankees, like they did to us in the first 2 games. I think that a big 3-run blast would be great at some point late in the game. If we could get that from like Cal or, Randy or one of our guys would be awesome, especially if it was Cal. We want those home run totals to keep going up, right? 2-1 pitch, fouled off, 2 balls and 2 strikes with runner at first and 2 outs. Stroman on the mound, JP Crawford in the box. And I'll get some Felix Hernandez up for you, Captain, momentarily. Let's go, JP. Yeah, and sometimes that's what's going to happen, Emmett, right? It's not always going to be the guys at the top of the order. Sometimes it'll be the guys at the bottom of the order, and and it carries over to some of the guys at the top, especially if the guys in the 6, 7, 8, 9 hole get on board, and then maybe less pressure for JP, Julio, and Cal at that point. But we'll see where it goes as the game continues. So far, so good. 2-2 pitch, high and away. Splitter misses the plate by a foot. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 2 outs. And hopefully JP can force a walk if he doesn't connect here. 2-2 pitch, in play, and he gets a base hit, baby. Yes, sir. Singles to center, Mastroboni to third. And now all we need to do is have Julio do his job. Julio does his job and gets a single. It's 3-0. Come on, Julio. And it's not like we have to say, oh, he needs a home run. No, at this point, this would be best case scenario. But based on how Julio has been playing lately, we'll be completely fine with an RBI single. The last thing that we want, is for you to swing at the first pitch, ground out, pop up, or to strike out swinging or looking. But we'll see here. Here we go. Come on, Julio. No, Vargas won't be coming in because he pitched yesterday and lost the game for us. So, this will be the game where we get Brash coming in the 6th or the 7th inning, and then hopefully Bizardo for an inning, and then Munoz. And that's the route that we're going to go. It's just unfortunate that we can't have Brash, Bizardo, and Munoz every day. Unfortunately, we only get to see them every few days, and those are our 3 best. So a lot of times we're stuck, with the Thorntons and the Vargases and the Snyders and the others. And a lot of times we lose games because of those guys blowing it in the pen. And now they're having another mound visit here with Marcus Stroman. First pitch to Julio, low and at the knees, 1-0 count. I mean, it's not like Julio isn't capable of doing this, right? We know he's capable of hitting a 3-run jack and we're up 5-0, but lately he hasn't been very consistent. We have more trust in Randy or Cal, hitting bombs right now than Julio, but you never know. I mean, he's kind of overdue, right? JP didn't hit one since Father's Day, hit one yesterday. Julio is due for a homer. He'll either get it today or in that Tiger series, more than likely, or maybe in the Astro series. 1-0 pitch, fouls it off. 1 ball and 1 strike to Julio Rodriguez. Now, if Julio was more patient in the box, he would have a lot more homers. He'd probably, almost double his home run total than what he's at now. But, him being not the brightest, in the box and refusing to, use a torpedo bat and, not really putting in the extra work has started to catch up to him, even though he's made fucking 3 All-Star games, in the first 4 years. He didn't deserve to make the All-Star game this year. And I don't know how other Mariner fans feel, but again, he deserves it for what he does defensively. But I mean, offensively in the box, George Springer would have been a better choice. But Springer sucked last year, and he's amazing this year. And he's a big reason why the Blue Jays are in first place. That, to me, is deserving of a spot. So I think Springer got robbed. Julio got picked because he's just popular. and Rodriguez grounds out to third. If that was George Springer and he was on the Mariners, what do you think would have happened? He would have probably got a hit. So I still love me some Julio Rodriguez, but, again, I think he's just going to be a guy that hits 20 to 29 home runs for his career. And then maybe, 1 season or 2 seasons he gets over 30, but he's just built that way. He's not built like Cal Raleigh to hit, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 home runs. It's not going to happen. Unless he decides to, put in a lot of work, work with Ichiro and Edgar and Seitzer, watch a shitload of film, switch to a torpedo bat, and show that he is super dedicated to not only the team, but himself. And if he does that, then yeah, maybe we can see Julio hit 30-30, 40-40, or maybe even hit 50 home runs one day. But if he's not willing to put in the hard work and change some of these bad habits, he's just going to be a 20 to 29 home run hitter, which still could be good enough for the Mariners to win a World Series or get to an ALDS or ALCS. But based on the money that we gave him, it's not exactly what we paid for. We paid for a guy that we thought would be Ken Griffey Jr. 2.0, and we got someone at this point that, even though has made 3 All-Star games, it's kind of like him getting the bid to the All-Star game this year. Is he really deserving of the, All-Star bid this year? No, he's not. He's great defensively, but overall, it's supposed to be like a total package kind of thing, not just being a one-way player. We paid him that big money to be a two-way player, and hopefully Julio will learn as we go forward. Let's go to the bottom of the 4th inning with a Seattle 2-0 lead. See if we can get a couple Felix Hernandez photos here. Love me some Felix. And again, if I could add, 2 players from that generation, it would be Felix Hernandez 1 and obviously Kyle Seager 2. I mean, we didn't really have very many good players. And then obviously Nelson Cruz was pretty cool too. Bottom of the 4th, 2-0 Mariners, baby. And first pitch, flied out. And just like that, Trent Grisham, he tried a homer right there. But luckily that stays in the park, 1 away. Next up, 0 for 1 with a K, Aaron Judge. And I'll try to squeeze in a few more Felixes, but want to try to find some good photos there. Appreciate you, Captain. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes and 100 on the Dono train before the stream ends. Bottom of the 4th, 2-0 Mariners. First pitch from Wu to Judge. Takes a strike looking right down the middle. 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch. Takes another strike looking right down the middle. Behind in the count 0-2 to Aaron Judge. I mean, again, when we first saw Julio, in his rookie year, when there was no film on him, that was exciting, right? We didn't know really what to expect. There was a lot of hype, but he lived up to it. But since then, he's made a couple All-Star games since. But, again, I think that, I think it's a fair statement to say, we assume with Julio's talent that bare minimum, Julio should be hitting 30 home runs, based on his skill set that we've seen, right? But again, when you get a guy that has that much skill and, doesn't get that job done, and it just seems like we are still waiting for him to figure out his identity. Are you a singles hitter? Are you a power hitter? Like, what are you? And I don't think he knows either, and that's part of the problem. 0-2 pitch, fouled off. No balls and 2 strikes from Wu to Judge. Oh, Felix should have been first ballot for sure, but as long as he gets in at the end of the day, I mean, we've had some great players in the organization. Ken Griffey Jr., big unit Randy Johnson, Edgar Martinez, right? Ichiro. Now we have Cal Raleigh. Felix Hernandez was a GOAT. We've had a lot of guys, and again, who knows, depending on how long they play, who knows, maybe Logan Gilbert and Brian Wu, George Kirby, maybe one of those 3, might have a chance to be a borderline, Hall of Fame pitcher when it's all said and done. Or maybe we get more than one. You don't really know. So 0-2 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Wu to Judge. Sweeper missing the plate there by about 3 feet. 1-2 pitch, fouled off right down the middle. And that would be a great souvenir to have. A Woo to Judge foul ball. I mean, besides getting the, home run ball there. Flying Monk in the building. What's good? Said Brandon Morrow and Dustin Ackley. Nice choices. Sometimes it's about the role players too. Like, I'm a huge fan of John Olerud. I loved him when he was on the Blue Jays. Loved him when he was on the Mariners. So unorthodox. He would wear the fucking batting helmet to first base. Crafty lefty. And sometimes it's not going to be about the most popular guys. It's about sometimes the others, like him and Tino Martinez. As Judge flies out to right, 2 away. It can always be about some of the others. Harold Reynolds. Some of those guys. Chris Bossio. Sometimes it doesn't have to be the best guy, but guys that you remember. Next up is Cody Bellinger. First pitch to Bellinger, high and away. Four-seam fastball, missing the plate, 1-0 count. I do have a cash app. So people can donate through the Super Chat. You can obviously donate through the Cash App, and then you can donate through the Venmo as well. Uneski Betancourt, good one. 1-0 pitch. High and away. 2 balls and no strikes from Woo to Bellinger. Flying Monk with a tenor. Yeah, I can see if Paisley's awake. Usually she'll either be, on the couch, sleeping and whatnot, or resting in the other room. And then sometimes she'll come in the room late by the time the game is almost over and whatnot. But I can go out there and see if she's there. She loves to make an appearance, Pitch fouled off. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Woo to Bellinger. Flying Monk with the tenor. Appreciate you. And down goes Bellinger. Here we go. Appreciate you, my guy. Stacks on stacks. Racks on racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you, my guy. Freddie Garcia was fun to watch in that time. End of the 4th inning, 2-0 Mariners. He'd make a great fit. Imagine if we could swap Luis Castillo for Felix Hernandez, how much better we would be. All right, let's go over the stats right now. And, I know we haven't talked about it too much up to this point, but Brian Woo's got a no-hitter. And remember, last time he had a no-hitter, he went like 8 innings. So I don't know how long we're going to go here, but Brian Woo, 4 innings pitched, no hits, no earned runs, 2 walks to start the game, right? 4 Ks, but he's been perfect since. 63 pitches, 40 strikes, 2.67 ERA by Brian Woo, baby. And then let's take a look at Marcus Stroman. 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks, 80 pitches, and 48 strikes. Let's go to the top of the 5th. Next up is Big Dumper Cal Raw. First pitch to Cal, fouled off, high and away, 0-1 count. We're at 18 on the Dono train. You got it. 82 to go. Let him know, Jason. 1-1 pitch in play, and big dumper flies out to left. 1 away. Hopefully Cal will get a late inning home run at the end to get home run number 37. Next up, 1 for 2 with a K, Randy Arozarena. Top of the fifth, 2-0 Mariners. Let's go, baby. Yeah, but John Olerud, Tino Martinez, kind of in that same, time frame. I definitely like Nelson Cruz a lot more than Robinson Cano. First pitch in play, and Randy Arozarena flies out to center. This looks like a very quick inning here for the Yankees, 2 away. Unless Jorge Polanco has something to say about it. Polo is 0 for 2. Maybe Polo can get a little bit of magic in his solo dinger here to make it 3-0. Come on, Polo. Absolutely. And it also really depends on how long you've been a Mariner fan. Not everyone knows, Alvin Davis and some of like the OG guys from, back in the day and whatnot. Most people be pretty familiar, around the Ken Griffey Jr. era, 1989 and beyond. But if you go, prior to that, the knowledge is not going to be as strong unless you were a fan watching, back in the mid 80s. So 1-0 pitch, takes another strike looking in the zone from Marcus Stroman. No balls and 2 strikes to Jorge Polanco. 0-2 pitch, low and away. Splitter missing the plate by about 2 feet for Marcus Stroman. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jorge Polanco. Let's go, Polo. No, I don't think 2 runs is going to be enough because we've seen how good the Yankees are. All it takes is one meltdown, from someone that's not Brian Wu, like a Vargas, to come in there and give up 3 runs. So again, but since we are ahead, and hopefully we're still ahead, and we still have a no-hitter or like a one-hitter, at that point we can bring in Brash and we can have him pitch an inning. We can bring in Bizzardo and have him pitch 1 or 2, and then we can end it with Munoz. So, again, that's what we should be able to do since we weren't able to use Brash, Bizzardo, or Munoz in the first 2 games in the series. But if they were to use Brash and Bizzardo yesterday, maybe we would have won, after that late rally, and again, it's not really ideal to use one of your best guys in the pen when you're down 1, 2, or 3. But the Mariners have proven time and time again that they're not willing to use a good pitcher when we're down, and it's cost us. Because just because you're down by 3 and then you bring in Vargas, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to stay at 3? It's going to explode to 5 or 6, and that's what happens almost every time as Polo flies out to center for out number 3. All right, let's go to the bottom of the 5th, and we'll see who's up next here for the Yankees. Next up for the Yankees, 0 for 1 with a K, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Batting second, 0 for 1, first baseman Ben Rice. And batting third, 0 for 1, catcher Austin Wells. Let's check up on my pup and see if she's awake or not. Give me 1 sec. So Flying Monk, I just got a chance, to see what she's doing. She's, kind of napping right now on the couch and whatnot. So maybe as we get further into the game, maybe around like the 8th or 9th inning, she'll wake up and naturally come in here. And if she comes in here, then I can put her on screen. So, all right, baby, let's go to the bottom of the 5th, 2-0 lead. And again, we're going to need a few more. Obviously, I feel to win the game. Big Unit or King Felix? Wow, that's tough. I'd probably go Big Unit. Randy Johnson is one of the best left-handed pitchers of all time. He's the last guy to actually throw, 100 strikes in a game. Not 100 pitches, 100 strikes in a game. Think about that for a second. So, Randy is amazing. Felix was great. Obviously, we know what Felix was able to do, with his time with the Mariners as well. Obviously, anytime you can have a no-hitter or a perfect game, I think both are great, but obviously Felix, spent a good chunk of obviously his career here in Seattle. Randy was on the Expos, went to the Mariners. They didn't give him the deal and then ended up being one of the best pitchers, on the Diamondbacks and continued to be on a high level. And the Mariners dropped the ball, and obviously we've seen him play on a few other teams after that as well. Yankees, Astros, a few others. So. And down goes Jazz, 1 away. But also, too, for the people that are saying Felix, you guys didn't watch Randy Johnson pitch. You guys are a little biased. So, again, if you ended up watching Randy and Felix pitch, then your answer would be different. It's like, when we talk about Jordan and Kobe and LeBron, and when you hear people say, oh, LeBron is the best, if you say that, that means that you didn't watch Kobe or Jordan. So, again, it's one thing, to have a favorite, but also you have to remember, did you watch the player play? And if the answer is no, then your answer is going to be a little biased based on who you did watch. And I imagine a lot of people that say Felix, maybe not everyone, but most of them, if you're going to take Felix over Randy, probably you didn't watch Randy Johnson pitch. So, just saying. 1-1 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 1 strike from Wu to Rice. But again, you got to understand, Randy Johnson was one of the best lefties of all time, right? I'm not sure if MLB fans would say Felix was one of the best of all time. Felix is criminally underrated, but I don't know if anyone would put Felix overall, like better than some of the other righties that have been in the, he's nowhere near Nolan Ryan, and some of these other guys that were righties. So 2 away. Next up is Austin Wells. So you got to think, like, for lefties, it's like Sandy Koufax, in the 50s and the 60s for the Dodgers, and then you got Steve Carlton on the Phillies, Randy Johnson, obviously in the era that he was in. Those are, some of the best that ever played, and ever, So I think for that simple reason alone, you have to give the nod to Randy. You look at his accomplishments and what he did, but again, he didn't stay on the team as long, as maybe as like a Felix, and, the younger generation got to, watch King Felix pitch. And, again, he was really the only guy that we fucking had on the team when we were bad, right? We had King Felix, we had Kyle Seager, and we had Nelson Cruz. And Felix was by far the best player that we had on the team for years and years and years. So he was the guy that, was the face of the franchise, right? And I love me some King Felix, but, I got to go Randy. All day in the building. What's good? 1-1 pitch, fouled off by Austin Wells. 1 ball and 2 strikes with nobody on and 2 outs. Wu on the mound, Wells in the box. Starts of 6+ innings pitched, most consecutive. Randy Johnson in 93-20. Wu is at 17. Langston, another stud that doesn't get talked about that much from back in the day, with 17 as well. One-two pitch, low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Wu to Wells. And it's kind of interesting to see when it's all said and done, right? Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu, are they going to be better than Felix when it's all said and done, like numbers-wise, wins and losses, strikeouts? It's going to be interesting to see, like, the development of the guys that we have now compared to guys that we had, like Randy and Felix, that really, set the tone, on who we are. We obviously have guys that were great hitters, and Ken Griffey Jr. and Edgar Martinez as a DH, Ichiro as a leadoff hitter, Ken Griffey Jr. in center field. So it's like we've had a lot of amazing players, but no one, at least at this point, is on that Randy Johnson, King Felix level. But down the road, we might be talking about Logan Gilbert or maybe a George Kirby or a Brian Wu in the same kind of manner. So. All right, end of the fifth inning. We're up 2-0. And let's see who's up next here for the Mariners. Next up, 0 for 1 with a run and a base on ball. Hustling 24/7, which I really appreciate, Luke Rayleigh. Batting second, having himself a game, 2 for 2 with a run. It's Dominic Canzone. And batting third, 1 for 2 with an RBI, hitting his first MLB home run yesterday against the Yankees and keeping the hot streak alive today, Cole Young. Let's go, baby. Reflect in the building. What's good? So far, so good here with a 2-0 lead. Oh, gosh. Closer? I mean, you got to think the best closer, man, Diaz was I was really upset when Diaz left. I was thinking, oh, God, we're never going to have anybody as good as him. And then we were lucky we got Sewald and Munoz, and that was kind of a nice combo that we had. But, man, Diaz was really special, when he was on the Mariners, just like Munoz is now and whatnot. So, yeah, Cortez Kennedy, definitely a guy that was slept on as well. Agreed. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. Looks like we've gained some subs here today. We've gained 3 so far, and we've been gaining about 5 to 15 every day. Now we only need 38 to hit 21,000. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Sub to the channel, like the channel, share to the channel, donate if you can, comment in the chat, vibe with me and the others in the room. We really do appreciate everyone that is a part of this channel. Top of the 6th, 2-0 Mariners. Next up is Dominic Canzone. First pitch by Dom, fouled off, low and at the knees, four-seam fastball there with Beater coming in for the Yankees. Marcus Stroman's day is done. And overall, it's not like he was that bad. Actually pitched pretty well, only gave up 2 runs, but we'll take that. Rayleigh flies out, and hopefully Dom doesn't do the same. 0-1 pitch, fouled off again, low and at the knees. No balls and 2 strikes from Beater to Canzone. Let's go, baby. Had a good feeling today. Can't lose with the lucky Cal Raleigh jersey, right? (0-2 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Beater to Canzone. I appreciate anybody that's got talent, that's helping the team win, and then if they have something, above and beyond, that makes them a little bit more special than the average athlete, then, Yes, Randy Johnson is the best left-handed pitcher for the Mariners, and, you could probably say the best left-handed pitcher for every team that he pitched for, And the crazy thing is the Expos that drafted him from USC had Pedro Martinez on that team as well. Imagine if the Expos didn't fold into the Washington Nationals, and they would have been able to keep, Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, right? Oil Can Boyd, Marquise Grissom, Andres Galarraga. I really like the Expos. I remember back in the day, I even bought a hat. I never, bought a jersey or anything. Couldn't afford one when I was a kid, but I definitely ended up buying a a couple of Expos hats from back in the day. But, if I was like rich, would I rock an Expos Randy Johnson jersey? Absolutely. 0-2 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes from beater to Canzone. Have we ever had a left fielder worthy of an all-time Mariner team? I would have to do some research. Yeah, but if we were going to go off like an all-time Mariner team, including this year's squad and going all the way back to the very existence, yeah. Yeah, you're just throwing out the old the Henry Cotto, the Jeffrey Leonard, man. My oh my. Now they're talking to Austin Wells right here. Hopefully Wells' wrist is okay. Oh, I love me some Raul Ibanez. I don't think there's any Mariner fan that has anything negative to say about Raul. Raul was nice. Raul was like Nelson Cruz. You could really get behind a guy like that and really root for them. Wasn't really a big Robinson Cano guy coming over from the Yankees. We overpaid, and we finally paid money for a guy, but he never produced like he did when he did on the Yankees because he had Jeter and Bernie and Jorge Posada and all these great players around him, and then he comes to the Mariners, and he has to be like the guy, and he kind of folded under pressure. He definitely was not worth the money, but I definitely loved Raul Ibanez and Nelson Cruz, Kyle Seager, and Felix Hernandez. First pitch from beater to Cole Young. Takes a strike looking low and away. 0-1 count. Oh, 1 pitch, low and away. Beater tries to paint the corner and just misses. 1 ball and 1 strike with nobody on and 2 outs. 2-0 Mariner lead. And Brian Wu pitching a no-hitter. Bay. Let's go. And, getting to see Brian Wu in person, I knew it was going to be special, but there's an aura and a vibe when you watch him, and obviously him being an all-star this year, as Cole Young obviously struggled tremendously this season after, getting a hit, obviously, in his first game. And then now lately starting to get a little bit more consistent, hitting his first home run yesterday and being productive here today. Nice job, Cole. He's got a long ways to go, from being a consistent player, just like his buddy Ben Williamson. But, again, beggars can't be choosers, and all we can do is just hope that they continue to get better. Next up is Miles Mastrobuoni. Top of the 6th with a runner at first and 2 outs. Beater throws a strike looking right down the middle to Mastrobuoni. 0-1 count. Yeah, but at least we have a retractable roof, not like some places like Chicago for like the White Sox and any place that we go that has fucking rain. It's like when you have these places that are known for rain and sleet and snow and hail, and you don't even have a retractable roof. And I know that some of these stadiums have been around for years and years and years, and it's not easy to add a roof or blow something up and then build another stadium that costs lots of money and whatnot. But you would think in a sport like baseball, every stadium should have like a roof option, regardless if you're in a sunny state or not, for just in case. And then you can open it to let the sun in, and if the weather is shitty, then there's no more rain delays for any team, right? And we know the Mariners can't win with a rain delay. We're absolutely terrible even when we have a 30-minute rain delay. We suck. And that is out number 3. All right, let's go to the bottom of the 6th and see who's up next here for the Yankees. Next up, 0 for 1 in the 8-hole, shortstop having a rough year, Anthony Volpe. Batting second, 0 for 1 with a K, third baseman in the 9-hole, Jorbit Vivas. And batting third, 0 for 1 with a base on ball, left fielder Jason Dominguez. Let's go, Brian. No hitter so far. You're pitching great. Let's go over the stat line here real quick. Brian Wu, 5 innings pitched, no hits, no earned runs. He walked the first 2 batters of the game, which was unusual. 4 Ks. Obviously, you would maybe want a couple more, like maybe 2 more Ks and no walks. And so he's at like 6 right now. But hell, 2 walks to start the game. Hasn't walked anyone since. He's got 4 Ks. You normally would want him sitting around 7 to 10, close to this point, but 4 will take. And 74 pitches, 47 strikes, 2.64 ERA, and he's on a no-hitter right now. So, that's the main thing right now. Let's just continue to keep dominating the game. And then at some point, after Wu exits, we'll go Brash, and then we'll go Bizardo, and then Munoz, game over. So... yeah, Rivas would be nice. I wouldn't mind having him get a call up. I mean, we're still waiting on Harry Ford as well, so. But Masterboni popping out to the shortstop on out number 3. And again, is it possible that we win 2-0 or 2-1? Yeah, but I'm hoping that we get a few more runs before the game is over, and I'm really hoping that we get a Cal Raleigh homer late in the matchup. I mean, I don't think anything would make me happier than him hitting like a 3-run bomb, for home run number 37 and us winning like 5-0. But, that might be a big ask. All right, we're at 40 likes. Let's see if we can get to 50. Again, we're trying to get to 100 and 100. So if you're in the room and haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to a solid number here on the streams, as well as on the Dono train. First pitch to Anthony Volpe from Wu is high and inside, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch from Wu to Volpe, high and away. 4-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour by Brian Wu. 2 balls and no strikes to Anthony Volpe. 2-0 pitch in play, and Volpe flies out to Julio Rodriguez. No fly zone, 1 away. Next up for Brian Wu, 9-hole hitter, third baseman today, Jorbit Vivas. I mean, that would be tough to say because you would have to go back. First pitch in play, and Vivas popped out to the shortstop, 2 away. For a guy that played from 1968 to 1993, that's a lot of games. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, Mets, California Angels, Houston Astros, Texas Rangers. But he's got the most no-hitters, the most 1-hitter, 2-hitter, 3-hitter. He's got the most on anything. And, again, there's been a lot of great lefties. Like we mentioned, Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, Sandy Koufax. But, to me, Nolan Ryan by far is the best pitcher that we have ever seen and probably will ever see ever. Again, and to never have Tommy John, from pitching that long. And, I don't know if he's human, really. How do you pitch? And again, back in those times, he wasn't pitching 6 innings and having these mid relievers. He was pitching complete games, 9 innings, 10 innings, 11 innings straight. That would be unthinkable. Even with guys like Skubal and Skeens, even today, for guys to be pitching 9 innings, like every start, and obviously the game has evolved, but I think that really what makes Nolan Ryan that much more special. Even if he was only pitching 6 innings like the guys now, it would be impressive. But the simple fact that he was pitching complete games makes him a superhuman, baseball god, and you're never going to see anything like that ever again. 0-2 pitch, high and away, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jason Dominguez. 1-2 pitch, fouled off. Nice souvenir there by Dominguez from Brian Wu. Bottom of the 6th, 2-0 Seattle. Yeah, Wu's doing well. We can fucking talk about no-hitter, again, jinxing, non-jinxing, he's done it before, up to this point, and it's hard to have a no-hitter. Even if he ends the game with a 1-hitter, 2-hitter, it's still fantastic. At the end of the day, we just need to win. We got our ass kicked the last 2 games. Now, if we end up getting like a 5-0 victory with like a no-hitter, fantastic. That would be great for Brian Wu. But, if he doesn't get the no-hitter, it's not going to, it's not a big deal. It's hard to have something like that happen in 2025, but it definitely would be a big notch under his belt if he was able to get a no-hitter, right? And Dominguez strikes out looking. Let's go. End of the 6th inning. 2-0 Mariners. Let's go, baby. My boy, let's go. No hitter intact. 2 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Mariners. 0 runs, 0 hits, 0 errors for the Yankees. Beautiful. And let's be real. If anyone deserves something like this happening right now, it's us. We got our ass kicked the last 2 games. I mean, it would be awesome if we could, finally prevent the sweep, but have something special happen in the game. Because again, this is the hardest stretch in 3 teams that we're going to have all year. 3-game set on the road against the Yankees. 3-game set against the #1 team in baseball, including Scooball, the Tigers, starting tomorrow. Then we have the Home Run Derby and then the All-Star game. And then after the All-Star game, who the hell wrote this schedule? The Houston Astros? Golly, give me a break. Can't we play some shitty team like the Marlins or the White Sox? Like, why do we have to fucking play Yankees, Tigers, and then fucking Astros, all playoff teams? Like, golly, whoever wrote that schedule should be fired. But again, I'm up for the challenge. And again, I was hoping that we could shoot for 2 out of 3 in every series. But realistically, we might only win 1 out of 3 in every series. But it's better than, getting swept and going 0-6 in the last 6 games against the Yankees and the Tigers. But, I know the Tigers are great, but I'm still going to have the mindset that we're shooting for 2 wins, even though we might realistically only get 1. And obviously, when you go against Scooball, you know what typically happens, and it's not usually that good. So top of the 7th, 2-0 Mariners. Next up is J.P. Crawford. First pitch from Beta to J.P. takes a strike swinging high and away. 0-1 count. Woo's great. And like I said, when you see him in person, it's weird, man. Like, it definitely gave me like Felix Hernandez or like Randy Johnson, type of vibes. Or, when George Kirby was an all-star or Logan was an all-star, like there was like kind of an aura or, like kind of surrounding him and, just body language, confidence. It just feels good to have a 6th round guy like Woo, make it from being the 5th guy in the rotation and being a little shaky, but having a lot of potential. And then now seeing him in the All-Star game is going to be sweet. 2-1 pitch. High and inside. 3 balls and 1 strike from Beater to J.P. Crawford. Yeah, we do play the Astros pretty well, but lately, God, the Houston has been, we can't catch a break. Like every time that we need them to lose, they win. And, hopefully we can find a way to, do decent against them as JP has good eyes and takes that walk. Here we go. Maybe this will be the inning we get to 3, possibly 4. Next up is J.P. Crawford to Julio Rodriguez, 0 for 3. Come on, Julio. Julio can get a single or a double here, and then Cal can hit that 3-run blast, and then we can go up 5-0. And then we can see how long Brian Wu can go with this no-hitter. First pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle by Julio Rodriguez, 0-1 count. Come on, J-Rod. 0-1 pitch, high and inside, 1 ball and 1 strike to Julio Rodriguez. Top of the 7th, 2-0 Mariner lead. Feels good to be on that side of the scoreboard. And again, not a lot of big explosion, home runs like we've seen lately. But again, we're just finding ways to be effective, a little small ball tactics. And, hopefully we find a way to bunt at some point in this game as well. I mean, hell, I would love to see Julio, take his ego to the door and have him fucking try a bunt at some point. 1-1 pitch, and Julio flies out to left. 1 away. All right, we can't have Julio and Cal both not do anything in a game. I mean, he's 0 for 2 with a walk and a K, so at least Cal's gotten a first. Julio 0 for 4, not ideal. Let's go, Cal. We'll take singles. We'll take doubles. But at the end of the day, we're looking for home run number 37. First pitch, high and inside, four-seam fastball, 1-0 count. Top of the seventh, 2-0 Mariners. And if you need a quick update, if you just hopped in the top of the second, Cole Young singled to left, Rayleigh scored, 1-0 Mariners. Top of the fourth, Master Boney singled to right, Canzone scored, 2-0 Mariners. But obviously having guys at third for that to happen is key. 1-0 pitch in play, and Raleigh flies out to right. Not the most ideal situation for being up 2-0. No production from Julio and Cal today, but they should have maybe one more chance for an at-bat. Maybe, depending on what happens in these next few innings. But if we're up, 2-0, we'll see. Next up is Randy Arozarena. First pitch, low and away with a slider, 1-0 count. Yeah, but again, if Julio would have bunted, maybe he ends up being safe, and if not, he can move the runner over. But again, there's certain guys on the team, that probably would be willing to do it, and other guys that maybe the ego is too high, that they wouldn't be willing to do it. But, if you're a team player, regardless if your name is Julio Rodriguez, I mean, I would love for him to be a team player. And, even though that might not be what you want, but, life ain't fair. Sometimes you got to do things that you don't want to do, right? 2-0 pitch, high and inside. 3 balls and no strikes to Randy Arozarena. He gets a pitch down the middle and swings. It could be gone. But I would like him to take the walk here if possible. Yeah, I mean, especially with Julio's speed and his hustle. I mean, he could actually be a guy that could be like the best bunter in baseball, based on the speed if he actually did it, But again, I don't think he has good hand position, to do the bunt. It's not something that he practices. And realistically, if Julio tried to bunt, he'd probably strike out. Because he probably won't be able to get the bat in his hands in the right spot to be able to connect on the sweet spot of the bat. And he's not using a torpedo bat for the sweet spot to be a little thicker to get that bunt down. But, who knows? Maybe he'll switch to a torpedo bat at some point or another. 3-1 pitch. Takes a strike looking, high and away. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Randy Arozarena. Yeah, but again, Julio might be a guy that only hits 20 to 29 home runs, and that's okay. Of course, we want more based off the money that we played, but we have a Cal Raleigh, to be the Ken Griffey Jr. of the team. And obviously, we paid a lot of money for Julio, and so you expect 30-30 or better every year. You want 30, 40, 50 home runs. You want 30, 40, 50 stolen bags. You want him to rob home runs on the daily, but maybe we need to add a few more good players to the team so there's less pressure on him. Like if we added Gino would be the second best guy, not Julio. And then maybe at that point, the ego and the pressure wouldn't be so high because Gino would be able to pick up the slack. And, I hope that we grab him. I would love to get him back on the team. 3-2 pitch, fouled off. Even if we got Naylor, Ryan O'Hearn, just, grabbing someone else to relieve a little pressure, just like with Teoscar Hernandez going from the Blue Jays to the Mariners to the Dodgers. He's got Mookie, Freddie, and Shohei, so no pressure for Teoscar. And you got to think, if they didn't have Teoscar Hernandez last year, he won the home run derby. If they didn't have Teoscar, Dodgers would have not won the World Series. They might have not even got there. So Maybe we just need to keep adding better players, around Cal, and then Julio ends up being like the fourth best player, and maybe then we actually get him to be the player that we all want him to be. Or maybe even when we get better players, this is who he is. But he's definitely a piece that we need to be able to get where we want to go. It's not like we need to get rid of him. We just want him to get better. Top of the seventh with a runner at first and 2 outs. Beater on the mound. Randy in the box. 3-2 pitch. Low and at the knees. Great fucking eyes by Randy. And he takes a walk on 9 pitches. Nice job, Randy. Next up is Jorge Polanco, I believe. Yeah, that 2020 postseason by Randy was special. Yeah, but also you have to be able to know how to hit. Again, just because you use the bat doesn't mean it's a cheat code. There's a lot of people that have used the bat that, numbers haven't improved. But you look at Cal Raleigh, one guy that was hitting 29 to 34 home runs without it, and now has special, torpedo bats from the left and the right side with different, metrics and, different, weights and whatnot, with the bats, and it's working for him. And again, I'm not saying Julio's Cal. They're two totally different people. And obviously, Cal having the big dumper, having the big butt and the big legs, that's a lot of power there. Julio doesn't have that, and obviously Cal has a better follow-through swing and sees the baseball a little bit better as well. So, and Cal is a little bit more patient in the box, which is something that Julio needs. So I do think if Julio were to give the torpedo bat a try, it couldn't hurt. I mean, it can't get any fucking worse than it already is with Julio, right? First pitch to Polo from Beater. Takes a strike looking 0-1 count. I mean, really the only thing you can hate on with Randy is that he's lazy in left field and doesn't hustle all the time. Every once in a while, he'll make like a spectacular diving grab or a big play in left field in foul territory. But, sometimes when there's like a ground ball, he just kind of jogs. And that shit irritates the hell out of me. But he's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball since June 11th. And again, it's nice to be able to see the 2020 Randy Arozarena from the Tampa Bay Rays now finally here on the Seattle Mariners. 0-2 pitch. In play, back, see ya! And there is the 3-run homer I told you we would get. It wasn't Cal Raleigh, it's Polo. 5-0 Mariners. The sports gods, they know, man. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm going to come up with the predictions. Sometimes it may not be the guy that we want, but we did say, hey, 5-0 would be nice. And lo and behold, late in the game, there's the 3-run jack that we wanted. Brian Wu's on a no-hitter, and then we get the 3-run jack there. Sports gods, they love to be able to hear it. And then once you say it out loud, sometimes they'll make it happen. Nice job. I mean, I think I would have rather had it been Cal Raleigh for home run number 37, but for Polo, I'll take it. Let's go. Hell yeah. They're not coming back now. This is our game. And again, I said at the beginning of the broadcast, we're going to have to hit at least a homer. And I was hoping it was going to be a big one. We've had a lot of these like solo dingers. That's not good enough. We needed something big. And I didn't really feel, like a grand salami. I felt like it was going to be a 2-run jack or a 3-run jack. That would be appropriate. And lo and behold, here we go in the top of the 7th, and we get it. Next up is Luke Raley. 1-1 pitch, fouled off. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Beater to Luke Raley. Let's go. When was my last Mariners game, Michael? What do you mean? Like attending? July 4th. So just a couple days ago. Top of the 7th, 5-0 Mariners. And again, it's not like we're going to bring out Vargas to give up 3 runs. We're going to go Woo as long as we can, and then probably Brash and then Munoz. We might not even have to see Bizzardo because of Woo, having, this amazing no-hitter. But if we had to play Bizzardo instead of Brash, I would be okay with that as well. But at this point, you have your choice, but unless Woo just goes the whole way. Like, imagine if we end up winning 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, and Woo pitches a no-hitter. That would be amazing. Hopefully he does. And down goes Luke Raley, but it's all good. We get that 3-run bomb that I thought we would get, and here it is, 5-0 Mariners. Hell yeah. Nice job, Polo. We love that, baby. All right, let's see who's next up here for the Yankees. And normally I would have put Brian Woo on the phone, but I didn't want to jinx him today, because obviously it's like, I put Logan on there, and I just felt, okay, I'll put Julio on there. If he does good, he does bad, so be it. But nice job by Brian Woo today, and hopefully he keeps it moving. Next up, 0 for 1 with a base on ball. Trent Grisham. Batting second, 0 for 2 with a K, Aaron Judge. And batting third, 0 for 2, right fielder Cody Bellinger. Trident's up. Let's go M's. Bottom of the 7th, 5-0 Mariners. And right now, Brian Woo's got a no-hitter. Special, man. Pitched amazing, on the 4th of July with 8 Ks. I mean, he almost had 10, but hopefully, again, you're not going to pull Woo at this point. We want, Woo to have a complete game no-hitter and, go all the way. And again, if he ends up going, we've been talking a lot about Felix Hernandez today, and it would be kind of cool to be able to add another Mariner pitcher, and again, we got a lot of guys that potentially could make history before it's all said and done. Is it possible that George Kirby or Logan Gilbert one day might have a chance for a no-hitter? Absolutely. I don't know about Bryce Miller. Him and Castillo, it's probably not as likely, but Miller is young, Castillo is old. But again, with Kirby, Gilbert, and Woo, based on their youth, it's very possible that out of those 3 guys, that we might have a no-hitter somewhere. And hell, we might have one here today. Let's go. Go, baby. It's all about the Woo. And it makes Woo's story so special. He's not like Gilbert and Kirby, being like these high draft picks. 6th round, doing a Brock Purdy, Tom Brady kind of thing. No expectations. You just hope that they overachieve and, to be a 6th round guy and then to be at this level. And if you actually go back to that draft from like 4 years ago, Harry Ford was the 1st round pick in that draft, and we had a lot of quality pieces there. And obviously Brian Woo being that 6th round pick, and it shows you, it's not where you get drafted, it's how hard you work. And obviously the Mariners know how to develop pitchers, and I'm very happy that we have Brian Woo on the roster, especially with injuries to Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller this year. He's been a godsend for us, and I hope he gets a chance to pitch in the All-Star game. As long as we don't have an Astro or Ranger manager, we should be just fine. Absolutely. Again, if the bats come alive and we can have good pitching, I mean, again, it's going to be tough. Astros are great. Tigers are great. Yankees are great. We understand those teams are great, but Blue Jays are great right now. But, we can be just as great as those teams. They might have a better record than us, but they don't have some of the things that we have on our team. Nobody has a Cal Raleigh, and nobody really has the pitching staff like we do when we're on. So, and we know, obviously, the National League has got, the Mets and the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants and the Cubbies and the Cardinals and the Brewers. I mean, there's a lot of teams, competing and jockeying for positions. But, I like playing these good teams. It, brings out the best in us. First pitch from Brian Wu to Trent Grisham. High and away, 1-0 count. Lauren in the building. What's good? And Grisham grounds out to first, 1 away. And Uncle, I got this is the card that I have. The Top Heritage rookie card, on-card autograph, not a sticker. And I like it because it kind of reminds me of those old school cards that would have, the picture of the player in the corner. This time it just has a silhouette of a catcher, but I like the different colors, the red in the Cal Raleigh, the green in the Mariners, blue ink. That should be the only color for, obviously, Seattle Mariner autographs. Again, they didn't have that card graded. But out of all the cards that I saw, once Cal, hit the home run against the Athletics, that was the one that I decided to buy. And even to this day, you don't really see a lot of the Top Heritage rookie autos graded. Every once in a while on eBay, you'll see a couple, maybe raw, that people are selling. But again, sometimes you get ones that are, glossy and whatnot. 0-1 pitch, and Judge lines out to center, 2 away. There we go. Brian Wu's no-hitter is still intact. Next up is Cody Bellinger. And we know Bellinger's like on a 14 game hit streak here, so hopefully this will end for Cody. But again, I got a lot of cards, from back in the day, and sometimes with the newer cards compared to like the junk wax era or some of the current stuff, it doesn't have to be all sparkly and shiny, like a refractor for it to be cool. Sometimes it can have like an old school look, like a card that maybe I collected back in the day, and that was the one that I decided to buy when Cal hit the homer against the Athletics and got us to the playoffs. I was already in on Cal back then, and I'm not really surprised. I'm surprised to a certain degree with the torpedo bat and the numbers, but I'm not surprised that Cal is, showing that he's one of the best catchers in the game. I knew that he would be. He had that potential, especially hitting 29 to 34 home runs without a torpedo bat. So torpedo bat just took it to the next level. 0-2 pitch, low and at the knees. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Wu to Bellinger. They will. There'll be more Cal Raleigh bobbleheads, Cal Raleigh t-shirts, there's going to be all kinds of stuff, that they're going to be able to do, and at the end of the day, he's most likely going to be the guy that makes the Hall of Fame from this team. It's not going to be Julio. If you had to pick a second guy, it probably would be, possibly like a Logan Gilbert, unless Brian Wu can surpass Gilbert and he has a very healthy career, maybe him, but I would assume that those would be the guys that would have the best chance. Cal, and then we still need more time. Obviously they need to be healthy and continue to dominate for years and years and years. But, if Wu and Gilbert stay for 10 to 15 years and they keep dominating, there's a chance that, one of those guys or both of those guys might have a chance. And also with George Kirby, if he can ever get back to the player that he was prior to the injury, maybe he can start making more of a name for himself as well. But, right now, Cal, is definitely the Ken Griffey Jr. of this era. End of the 7th inning, no hitter intact. Let's go to the top of the 8th. 5-0 Mariners. It feels good. Yeah, I got a Ken Griffey Jr. 89 upper deck here on my dresser as well. I got a lot of Griffies. I got like all the Griffey figures, like all the starting lineups still in the box. I still got the McFarlands in the box. Like one McFarland, was after he came back, when he got chubby and fat and rejoined the team, they ended up having a special edition McFarland that came out that's worth maybe like 100, 150. And then I got the 2001, 2002 Griffey Chase when he was on the Reds. And this one comes with a piece of a wall, stunner shades. He's got the earring, and it's got like the hand, doing kind of like the home run, robbing, type of thing. And that one is super expensive. That one normally runs over 300, and I got a nice case for that. So, Griffey stuff is my forte for sure. Top of the 8th, 5-0 Mariners. And let's see who's up next here for Seattle. Next up for the Mariners, 2 for 3 with a run and a K, Dominic Canzone. This was awesome, him, calling his parents. You can tell Brian Woo's got really good parents, and it's always nice and emotional for the player and the fans when Logan Gilbert did it, George Kirby did it, and Brian Woo did it recently. Batting second will be Cole Young, and batting third, Miles Mastrobuoni. Brubaker is in. First pitch from Brubaker to Dominic Canzone. Takes a strike swinging. Low and away, 0-1 count. Yeah, I don't have the famous FF Billy Ripken bat knob card. I never got a chance to pull that card. Definitely have seen it online. But I don't have the Billy Ripken era, the famous card. Don't have that one. I mean, he has already got more home runs than any catcher in MLB history. So, I mean, when it's all said and done, Cal is going to, it's going to be almost like a Nolan Ryan kind of a stat line, I feel, from Cal if he plays for 15, 20 years. Down goes Dom, 1 away. Next up is Cole Young. Yeah, I love me some Cal. Canzone caught stealing at second. Catcher to shortstop. 0-1 pitch in play. And Young grounds out to first. 2 away. Who was the last Mariner to throw a no-hitter, and who was it? That's a good one. James Paxton? Someone can look that up if I'm right or not. Obviously we've had a few guys that have had some memorable games. Randy Johnson threw our first no-hitter in team history. We've seen Felix, do some special things, right? But I believe that is the correct answer. But if it's not, someone can type in the chat and let me know. First pitch to Mastrobuoni from Brubaker. Takes a strike looking, low and away. 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, low and away, paints the corner but doesn't get the call. 1 ball and 1 strike to Miles Mastrobuoni. Let's go, Miles. Yeah, and I actually went to the game where we played the Royals, me and my best friend, a few years back, where Paxton ended up having a 1-0 victory against the Royals, I believe, and he had like 11 Ks, 12 Ks in that game. And it was the James Paxton bobblehead day, where they had the eagle that landed on his shoulder in pregame, and they ended up making like a bobblehead of that. And I got that James Paxton bobblehead with the eagle on the shoulder still in the box somewhere in one of my collectibles. So, all right, down go the Mariners there, but again, the no-hitter is still in play. And 5 runs, 9 hits, no errors from the Mariners, and this is the most beautiful thing ever. New York Yankees through 8 innings. 0 runs, 0 hits, 0 errors. Let's see if Woo can pitch a complete game no-hitter. Let's go. Yep, and then Felix had the perfect game in 2012. Next up, 0 for 2 with a K. Second baseman Jazz Chisholm Jr. had 2 homers against us yesterday. Not today, my guy. Batting second, 0 for 2. First baseman today, Ben Rice. And batting third, 0 for 2 with a K, Austin Wells. Yes, Chris Bossio, baby. Let's go. This one feels good, and again, it would definitely make up for getting our ass kicked, these last 2 games. But you saw a little bit of a progression, right? We were down, and we could have potentially lost 10-0, but Cal ended up hitting a homer late in game 1, and we scored 3. And I know to some people, they don't care. But for us that are watching every pitch, every inning, every game, you could tell by getting those 3 runs late, it was going to carry over into the next game, and it did. We scored 6 runs. We had multiple homers, but then bringing in Vargas, he blew the game, right? And now in this game, we got a 5-0 lead and potentially could have history. And not only that, history against an amazing team with an amazing history, who's my favorite rival that's not in the division in the AL West, the Yankees. I like the Astros, the Rangers, the Athletics, and the Angels. I love playing those teams, but this is my favorite team outside of our own division because I know how good they are. And it seems like, it always brings out the best in us, even when we lose. And there's going to be times where we get our ass kicked, but there'll be other times we'll, bounce back and show that, hey, we're the Seattle Mariners, and we might not have a rich history with all those World Series pennants like New York does, but we're on the up and up. And in the next 20 years, there's going to be a very good chance for something special to happen for the Seattle Mariner team. Believe that. 1-1 pitch, fouled off right down the middle. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Wu to Jazz Chisholm Jr. Yeah, if you watch that Wu interview, they were going to meet up with family and friends at this game, and then obviously going to Atlanta after the Tiger series and going to the All-Star game. But I'm so happy for Brian Wu, and we all saw the potential early on when he was our 5-spot pitcher in the rotation, and I'm just so happy that he was able to take advantage of some of the injuries of Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Bryce Miller. But let's be real. At the end of the year, Brian Wu was our best pitcher last year. He might have not had the best record or the most innings pitched, but he was the best pitcher late in the season last year. Facts. In play, and Jazz breaks up the no-hitter. Boo! Chisholm singles to right, and down goes the no-hitter, but you can still get a 1-hitter or 2-hitter at this point. We know how tough it is to go 9 innings, and even if he was able to get out of the 8th inning with the no-hitter, realistically, he would have given up probably at least a hit in the 9th. It's very difficult. And Jazz breaks up that no-hitter. You see the diving attempt there by the Mariners, but just out of position. Next up is Ben Rice, and Wu has a nice smile on his face knowing that the no-hitter now is over. But again, this won't be the last time that Wu is in position for a no-hitter in the 8th inning. I feel like out of any pitcher on the Mariners, he's going to have the best chance to get the no-hitter, even over Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and some of the others. And Rice now gets a single to center, so the no-hitter is over, and now he's giving up back-to-back hits. So now we have to make sure that nothing crazy happens, okay? Like you were having the pressure, to keep the no-hitter going. Now you're giving up back-to-back hits. Now we have to make sure that you don't give up a unexpected 3-run bomb, and then all of a sudden it's 5-3, and the Yankees are in striking distance in the 9th. I mean, at some point, you may want to bring in Brash. Again, you're in the 8th. You got runners on 1st and 3rd and no outs. I mean, unless they want to wait for the score to be 5-1 or 5-2, but this might be a good time to pull him. If you want to go one more batter, be careful because, Wells is a guy that can hit a 3-run jack. And again, we don't want to have a, 2-run lead going into the 9th. So, and I imagine, they'll let him go to Wells and they'll go from there. First pitch from Wu to Wells, low and out the knees, 1-0 count. But typically that's the rule. When you guys, have runners at first and second, second and third, first and third, and no outs, that's when you pull a guy, because again, if you wait, then it's going to be 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4. And the last thing that we want is it to be 5-5 and then we lose this game, like in extras. 1-1 pitch, fouled off, right down the middle, 1 ball and 2 strikes with runners at first and third. Brian Wu with a no-hitter gave up back-to-back hits. The Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Ben Rice, unfortunately, but he can still finish his day off with a 2-hitter or 3-hitter unless they decide to pull him. But Brash is warming up, and Brash will be able to shut the door down, and then we can go Munoz. And if we bring in Brash and Munoz, depending on what happens here, we could still win 5-0 or 5-1. 1-2 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes with runners at first and third and no outs. 5-0 Mariners. Come on, Will. Two pitch, fouled off, high and inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Austin Wells. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. Woo, woo, woo. Bottom of the 8th, runners on the corners at first and third. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Austin Wells. Come on, Brian. Woo their ass. Let's go. Woo on the mound, Austin Wells in the box. And there it is. Wells doing his job in play, and now it is 5-1. Better than him, sack fly there. Better than him hitting a 3-run bomb and having it be 5-3. So now you got runners at first base with 1 out. Next up is Anthony Volpe. And then on deck is Jorbit Devos, who he should be able to get out on his own. What speed by Jazz. Head first slide at home. Great effort there by Jazz Chisholm Jr. Randy Arozarena, take note. Bottom of the 8th, 5-1 Mariners. And again, they're just waiting for Brash to have enough time to warm up. And obviously they're trying to let him go as long as he can, but this is the time to pull him now. And we're lucky that Wells didn't hit a 3-run bomb. Because again, in that situation, that's what typically happens. You have guys at first and second, second and third, first and third, and you have no outs. It's that guy that is up next. And if you wait too long, then something bad will happen. But great effort by Brian Wu, a 2-hitter going into the 8th. I mean, again, all of us are always rooting for the no-hitter or a perfect game. But again, if without Brian Wu's dominant pitching and clutch hitting by the Mariners, we don't win this game and we get swept. So nice job by the All-Star. He had 8 Ks. When I saw him on the 4th of July, and it definitely was a special moment. And, even though the Ks weren't as high today, he only had 5. Solid fucking day. 103 pitches, 67 strikes. And then we're going to bring in Matt Brash and then Munoz, and then boom, game over. And hopefully we can still win 5-1. Or maybe we can win 6-1 or 7-1. We can add on a little bit in the top of the 9th. Yeah. Brash will. Brash is the best consistent player on the team. He's had 0 fuck-ups. Even in the game that he gave up a home run, we still won. And so it's like he hasn't really fucked up, at all. We've seen Munoz blow a couple saves. Gabe Spire has been hit or miss. Bizzardo has been really consistent, but he's had a couple fuck-ups, but Brash is as good as a guaranteed thing is in life. It's Matt Brash this year off Tommy John. He's fantastic. So, we don't need to jinx anything. We already lost the first 2 games. So, again, this is our game to win. So, 0% chance the Yankees are coming back in this game. They already won game 1 and game 2. Again, it's not like we had, Wu, Brash, and Bizzardo and Munoz to use in the other games. So, again, if you're going against our very best, good luck, because you're not probably going to win against our very best. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. First pitch, low and away, 1-0 count from Brash to Volpe. 1-0 pitch, fouls it off right down the middle. 1 ball and 1 strike to Anthony Volpe. One pitch, high and inside, fouled off. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Brash to Volpe. Come on, Matt. 1-2 pitch, fouled off high and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 1 out. Solid player, all-star. And again, if they actually let mid-relievers make the all-star game, Brash might be the most deserving guy in MLB. But usually it's just starting pitchers and closers. I mean, I would have rather had Brash make the all-star game over Julio, if I'm being real. You know, and then obviously if it wasn't going to be a Mariner player, Springer was more valuable than Julio. But Julio's amazing at defense. We know that. But again, we know what all-star voters typically look at. You know, a lot of times it ends up being a popularity contest. So 1-2 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Anthony Volpe. 2-2 pitch, and Volpe strikes out looking, baby. Mr. Automatic Matt Brash. Way to be, baby. 2 away. Next up, pinch hitting, Giancarlo Stanton. How dare they? Bottom of the 8th, runner at first and 2 outs. And now it's going to be Giancarlo Stanton. And we know at any given moment, you know, he can, with 1 swing, homer, right? Giancarlo, you know, he might be old, you know, he might be a little slow. He's injury prone. But even in this series, you throw it right down the middle in the sweet spot. I mean, he can take it just like Judge and go yard. Might not be as consistent as, you know, Judge lately, you know, but still a guy that can be dangerous from time to time. First pitch, high and inside from Brash to Stanton. 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch, low and away. Paints the corner beautifully. Brash, you the man. 1 ball and 1 strike to Giancarlo Stanton. 1-1 pitch, high and away with the sinker, 98 miles an hour. 2 balls and 1 strike to Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, you got to think, if we had Brash last year, we make the playoffs. I mean, the years that we didn't make the playoffs, we only missed it by 1 to 3 games. And Brash by himself will help you win 5 to 10 more games rather than not having him. And again, think about how many games that we struggled late and we had to deal with incompetent players. But again, Brash, back, see ya! And the second home run that Matt Brash has given up, now it is 5-3. Rice on board, and Stanton, like I said, on any given play, on any given day, even against a guy that's the most consistent in Matt Brash, there it is, 5-3 Seattle. Luckily, we are at 5 and not sitting at 2 or 3. And again, that's the only second homer that Brash has given up. But we ended up winning the game that he gave up the homer the first time around. So not going to be a Vargas type of situation where it loses the game for us. First pitch from Brash to Dominguez, fouls that one off, 0-1 count. And again, I hate seeing Brash give up homers, but again, if they didn't pinch hit for him and we would have gotten our normal hitter, that would have not happened. So that was just, you know, obviously good managing by the Yankees. And we didn't see Giancarlo play today, and he's making his time well spent, so to speak. And 0-1 pitch in play, and Dominguez flies out to center, and that's the end of the inning. You know, my ESP is typically on point. You know, again, I can say it out loud, you know, and the sports gods sometimes are going to, you know, take it to heart. You know, did I want Brash to give up a fucking home run? Hell no. You know, he's the best guy that we have in the pen. You know, but besides, you know, obviously Bizardo and Munoz this year, but it's not going to make us lose. We're still going to win the game. And again, he gave up a homer, you know, a little while back. We still won. He gave up another homer there. We're still going to win. And hopefully we can get another run here in the top of the 9th, just to add on a little bit more insurance here today. And again, it's not like, you know, we haven't seen Giancarlo homer. He homered in game 1, right? So, you know, he's a guy that can get a solo jack, 2-run jack, 3-run jack, grand salami. You know, he's injury prone, but he's got the fucking power. And And now this game becomes a little bit more interesting. Yankees surging late, and like they always do. Next up, J.P. Crawford, 1 for 3 with a run and a base on ball. Drop the bunt down. I don't know what you need to do, but let's get on base. Batting second, 0 for 4, Julio Rodriguez. Drop a bunt, take a walk, get plunked. I don't know, but just get on base with a single or double, Julio. And batting third, this could be the opportunity for home run number 37, big dumper Cal Raleigh. 0 for 3 with a base on ball and a K. And this could be just like game number 1 where he homers in garbage time. And hopefully we get that. Yeah, Brush will remember that one, and again, he's not afraid of anybody, and again, once in a while, no matter how good you are, whether you're, Brash, Bazardo, Munoz, there's going to be guys that are going to rough you up, from time to time. But again, he's like really the only guy that has given up a couple homers, and the game's not over yet, but I assume that we're still going to win this game, and I think we still have a chance to be able to add on 1, 2, or 3 more runs here in the ninth, especially with JP, Julio, and Cal up. Now, is it possible that it's 1, 2, 3, and all 3 of them, pop up, ground out, or strike out? Of course, but I would like to be able to, hope for a little bit of mojo magic and Mariner magic here late. Top of the ninth, 5-3 Mariners, and let's see if we can end up adding on a little insurance here. I mean, the sports gods listen to everything that we say, like literally to the T, But again, a lot of times it's not like I'm really predicting. I'm just, stating the obvious that Stanton has got the power. And then, he homered. So first pitch, high and inside to J.P. Crawford from Hamilton, 1-0 count. Yeah, well, Jared Kelenic, former Mariner, obviously was on the Braves and then got cut or sent to AAA, but was mentioning, big dumper and whatnot. And obviously his mom didn't really like the nickname to start off. I don't think a lot of moms would want their kid to be nicknamed Big Dumper for the butt and whatnot, being a little bit thick and large, but it's a part of who Cal is, giving him that power with the butt and the legs to, follow through on those big swings. And, whether it be Big Dumper or Big Thumper, he's both. And, it's stuck. And, and I don't think it really is in any kind of negative connotation. And if anything, it's kind of cool, to have the name Big Dumper. 1-1 pitch, takes a strike, looking low and in the zone. 1 ball and 2 strikes to J.P. Crawford. Zay in the building. What's good? 1-2 pitch, fouled off high and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes to J.P. I appreciate that. 1-2 pitch, low and at the knees. 2 balls and 2 strikes to J.P. Crawford. So this is the 4th of July hat from last year when we beat the Orioles. I have the new one, the trucker hat style. It's in the closet in a bag. So at some point, I might bust that one out, and then we can have that on stream. So 2-2 pitch, fouled off high and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes, nobody on, and no outs. Mariners up 5-3. Brian Wu had a no-hitter going into the 8th, gave up a couple hits. Then Brash came in, gave up a 2-run homer to Giancarlo Stanton, who didn't play all game, and that was a brilliant move, by the manager there for the Yankees on bringing Giancarlo in, because that's exactly who you want to have to come in a game when you haven't played all day. A guy that with 1 swing can hit a home run like Judge and Cal, and he did. 2-2 pitch in play, and JP flies out to left, 1 away. Plus, we're not going to lose with the lucky Cal Raleigh jersey that I got on. Right? We're going to win when we wear this. Down goes JP, 1 away. Next up, Julio Rodriguez, already 0 for 4. Did Julio just get ricocheted with the ball again? Like when Randy Arozarena hit him in the leg when he was going from second to third? Man, Julio's got like the worst luck ever. I mean, Julio gets injured when he's not even in the box. He's like sitting there on deck. Unbelievable. Got to have your head on a swivel, at all times. You can't be in your own world, especially with ricochets, with baseballs, exit velos, going 100 to 120. You got to make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on in the game. So, and now they're looking at Julio to see if he's okay. I mean, he's already 0 for 4. Yeah, I think it hit him in the shin guard. Let's see if we can see a replay here. But JP fouls it off, and it, like a missile, hits him in the leg. But he's in there, and hopefully he'll be able to do something with this at-bat. First pitch from Hamilton to Julio takes a strike looking, 0-1 count. Unless he's so injured, he's just not going to swing. 0-1 pitch. Takes another strike swinging low and away. No balls and 2 strikes to Julio Rodriguez, who might lead the MLB in 0-2 counts in MLB history. I don't think I've ever seen a guy have more 0-2 counts ever in his first 4 years than Julio Rodriguez. Now, if he was like Ichiro or Tony Gwynn or Rod Carew, it would be no problem. 0-2 count is like having a 2-0 count to those guys. But unfortunately, Julio is not Ichiro. Julio is not Rod Carew. And Julio is not Tony Gwynn. 0-2 pitch, low and away. Misses the plate by 3 feet there by Hamilton. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Julio Rodriguez. 1-2 pitch, high and inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes with that missed sinker there by Hamilton. Top of the 9th, 5-3 Mariners, global broadcast on MLB Network. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. And Julio strikes out swinging. Not a big surprise, Next up is big dumper Cal Raleigh, and this is where we're looking for the cheap, garbage time. Home run number 37, just like in game number 1, except this time we're ahead, and he hits a homer here, we go up 6-3. And then we can maybe win 6-3. And again, you want to make sure you're maximizing every single at-bat so Cal can break not only records, but make history this year. 0 for 3 with a walk and a K. Let's go, big dumper. Yeah, agreed, Ben. Even if he didn't get hit by the foul ball, probably wasn't going to get a hit there anyways. Oh, 1 pitch. Fouled that one off again. No balls and 2 strikes to big dumper Cal Raleigh. Come on, Cal. See if we can get a pitch somewhere in the strike zone and he can go yard. Judah in the building. What's good? Yeah, and like I said, I don't think this is a flash in the pan. I think this is going to be kind of a regular thing for Cal. You got to remember, before the torpedo bat, I mean, he was hitting 29 to 34 home runs, per season. So, and Raleigh strikes out swinging on pitch number 3. So not really an ideal day for Julio or Cal, but that's what makes the Mariners dangerous. If we have Brian Wu on the mound, we can still have an off day by Julio and Cal, who are considered, in most circles, second best and first best player offensively, even though we know Julio may not actually be the second best player offensively. It definitely is Randy Arozarena lately. But even Polo and a few others, it feels like, are more trustworthy than Julio. But even with them not having a good game, right, we're still finding ways for others to step up, and that's a good sign. Because there are going to be games where Julio single-handedly wins it for us. There are going to be games where Cal single-handedly wins it for us. And there's also going to be games where Cal and Julio, like Jordan and Pippen, dominate the game and single-handedly win it for us with those two. So, again, we had Brian Wu on the mound, and we're going to finish it up here in the bottom of the 9th. Let's see who's up next. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes before the stream ends. And we're still trying to get to 100 in the donos on the stream. Next up, 0 for 2 with a base on ball. First baseman, no. Center fielder, Trent Grisham. Batting second, 0 for 3 with a K. DHing today, Aaron Judge, which is a rarity. Going 0 for 3 for him. And batting third, 0 for 3, playing right field today for Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger. And he's got like a 14-game hit streak that might end if we can get him to go out here in this last at-bat. And we'll see what we get here. Is it going to be Brash or is it going to be Munoz? Who are we going here? Yeah, and again, there's going to be times where Cal goes 0 for 4 or 0 for 5. No one's going to care. No one's going to blink an eye based on everything else that he does for us. But for Julio, yeah, again, that's another story. Yeah, but for us Mariner fans, we're not nervous because, again, we're going to have our best players in this game. In game 1 and game 2, you're not seeing Brian Wu, you're not seeing Brash, you're not seeing Bizzardo more than likely, and maybe you get to see him in game 1 or game 2 briefly, and then you're not seeing Munoz. So, all right, Munoz is coming in, and we know Munoz has blown some saves for us, in the past, but he should be able to get it done here. Let's go. I mean, the only way that we would be nervous in this situation is if Vargas was pitching, and if he was pitching, then yeah, we'd be nervous. But if it's not him, we're good. There's always a chance of a fuck up, but again, more times than not, he's going to get the job done here. There's a reason why Mooney is an all-star, because he's the man. I mean, you have to understand, the guy had an ERA of 0 after 50 games. How many, closers could say that? Not many. He definitely is a top 5, top 10 closer in the game. First pitch, takes a strike, looking, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch to Grisham, high and away, 1 ball and 1 strike to Trent Grisham. 1-1 pitch, fouled off, low and at the knees, 1 ball and 2 strikes from Munoz to Grisham. Let's go, Mooney. Pitches outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes from Munoz to Grisham. Bottom of the 9th, 5-3 Mariners. Munoz on the mound, Trent Grisham in the box. No, they don't even make a Vargas jersey, so yeah, no one would rock a Vargas jersey. 2-2 pitch, high and away. 3 balls and 2 strikes from Munoz to Grisham. But when you do go to a Mariner game, you will see, some kind of oddball choices for jerseys, though. And in play, and Grisham singles to right. Come on, Mooney. All right, next up here is Aaron Judge. Got to be careful. Bottom of the 9th, 5-3 Mariners. Come on, Munoz. Now, obviously, we need to try to get Judge to hit a dribbler for a double play, but that's probably not realistic for Aaron. We're just going to have to either strike him out or get him to pop up. First pitch in play, and there it is. The fly out to center. That's exactly what I wanted. There we go. Down goes Aaron Judge. Thank God. 1 away. Next up is Cody Bellinger, and you got to make sure you pitch to him correctly, too. He's a guy that, could, with one swing, do some damage. Zay with a 20. Thank you so much. I know it's been tough for your Guardians, my guy. Stacks. Racks, Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you, my guy. Let me know what you want to do for photos. Hopefully after we win this game, and I got you. 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike to Cody Bellinger. Let's see if we can get a double play to end the game. Munoz, Bellinger, hit to JP, throw to first, game over. Or if we can get Bellinger to pop up or ground out or strike out, we'll take that as well. 1-1 pitch, high and inside. 2 balls and 1 strike to Cody Bellinger. 2-1 pitch. Low and away. 3 balls and 1 strike from Munoz to Bellinger. Come on, Mooney. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. Help us get to 60. Looks like we need 3 more. I was hoping that we could get to at least 70 or 75 before the game ends. Jose Ramirez, I got you. Bottom of the 9th, runner at first. 5-3 Mariner lead. Munoz on the mound. Brian Wu had a no-hitter going into the 8th, but it shows you how dangerous the Yankees are. And luckily, we had more than 3 runs. Because imagine if we only had 3 or less, we would have lost this game, even with a no-hitter by Wu going into the 8th. In play, and Bellinger gets a single to right. Grisham to second. Uh-oh. And this is not what you want. A guy that hit 2 home runs yesterday. Bottom of the 9th with runners at first and second and 1 out. Don't you dare do what you think you want to do, Jazz. Bottom of the 9th, runners at first and second and 1 out. We need a double play from Jazz. Slow dribbler in between second and third base. Throw to second, throw to first, game over. Come on now. All right, Uncle, take it easy. Make sure you grab your Cal Raleigh autograph rookie before it gets too late. A lot of Cal memorabilia going up as we speak. All right, come on, Munoz. You got to stop playing around here. We understand how good the Yankees are, as a team. They don't have to be a first-place team in their division in the AL East to be good. Blue Jays have gotten on a heater with George Springer, but with the amount of bats and the amount of salary that this team has, even though they lost Soto, they brought in Goldschmidt and Bellinger, and it almost was a 2-for-1. I know Yankee fans were probably, wishing they still had Soto, but again, Bellinger and Goldschmidt have been pretty good, for them up to this point. And Jazz has been fantastic since they picked him up last year for the playoff run. Matt in the building, what's good? I thought we weren't going to see you for a couple months. That was a quick change your mind, huh? Good to see you. First pitch, takes a strike looking in the zone to Jazz Chisholm Jr., 0-1 count. Bottom of the 9th, runners at first and second with 1 out. Munoz on the mound. Jazz Chisholm Jr. in the box, 2 home runs yesterday for him. Brian Wu, our all-star in 2025, had a no-hitter going into the 8th, finished with a 2-hitter, but then Brash gave up a 2-run homer to Giancarlo Stanton, who ended up pinch hitting, and playing for the first time today. No surprise there, but at least we have a 2-run lead, and hopefully we can still win this game 5-3. 0-1 pitch, high and away, 1 ball and 1 strike from Munoz to Chisholm Jr. And again, when Mooney is on, we know when he's on, like when he pitched 7 strikes in a row, 3 strikes, out number 1, 3 strikes, out number 2. He almost had an immaculate inning, right? But when he ends up walking or giving up a couple hits, that's when disaster possibly could happen unless he gets control of his strike zone. 1-1 pitch, high and away, 2 balls and 1 strike with runners at first and second and 1 out. Come on, Mariners. Come on, Mooney. Oh, it's in play. And Chisholm flies out to right. Thank God. 2 away. You know how heartbreaking it would have been if Chisholm would have hit a 3-run bomb and they would have won 6-5 with a walk-off? I would have lost my goddamn mind. All right, here we go. We should get the 3rd out here. Not talking shit about Ben Rice, but, not an everyday player. Should be a guy that we can get out. He's 1 for 3 with a run. So, he definitely has the skill set to, get a hit, but hopefully he doesn't. And we can get him to pop up or ground out or strike out, and we can end this game. But it looks like Mooney's strike zone is a little off, so probably won't strike him out. We'll probably have to have him pop up or ground out. First pitch, fouled off, 0-1 count. Let's go. I don't know. Mariners bullpen isn't, I don't think, dog shit, Brash is great overall, right? Bizzardo's great. Munoz is great most of the time, and even Gabe Spire is pretty nice. But it's all about the other guys after those 4. 0-1 pitch, takes a strike looking outside of the zone by like a foot. Terrible call by that ump. You would feel that they would give him the, home call instead of giving it to the Mariners there. No balls and 2 strikes to Ben Rice. We should be able to win now. Let's go. 0-2 pitch, high and inside, right on the line. Should have been strike 3. Doesn't get the call. Must be a makeup call from that previous ball. That was called strike. That was, a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes with runners at first and second and 2 outs. 5-3, Mariner lead. We got our ass kicked in game 1 and game 2. This game is ours. We got a 3-game set against the Tigers starting tomorrow, including Scooball. So, we need to win this, especially with Wu having a no-hitter through 8 innings. Can't lose today. Yeah, Bizzardo's got the 3rd most innings pitched in the American League this year. Brash is the most consistent, bullpen guy, and then Mooney is one of the best closers, Let's go, baby. Bottom of the 9th, runners at first and second, 2 outs, 5-3, Mariner lead. Like, sub, donate, comment, share, help your boy out. And we got Mooney on the mound, Rice in the box. Let's go, Mooney. Yeah, Bizzardo is the most improved player on the team from last year to this year, for sure. He was in the same category as like Taylor Saucedo, which was absolute dog shit. And, to go from dog shit to like, wow, you're even better than Gabe Spire? That's impressive. And he's earned it. Bizzardo. Now we got a mound visit. We got Cal and Mooney trying to get on the same page. Let's go. 1-2 pitch. Low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. With runners at first and second and 2 outs, 5-3 Mariner lead. Ben Rice in the box. Munoz on the mound. 2-2 pitch. Low and away. Come on, Munoz. Not the best, opportunity here for Mooney. This is one of his kind of shaky outings here. It's not on fire like he was in his last outing. Count now is full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, runners at first and second and 2 outs, and he walks them. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ, Mooney. Mooney! Are you trying to lose the game for us? Fucking A. Next up is Austin Wells. And again, you got to be careful when you go to Wells. He's a guy that has, sneaky power. Fucking A, dude. I mean, how do you go 7 strikes in a row? 3 strikes, out number 1. 3 strikes, out number 2. Almost getting an immaculate inning, and then you go to this? I know there's pressure, going against the Yankees and whatnot, but come on. First pitch, high and away. 1-0 count. Golly, come on now. And I would say Munoz, most of the time, 85% of the time, he's, on. But there is going to be, instances where he's off like today. 1-0 pitch, high and away. Holy hell. 2-0 count. 2-0 pitch. Takes a strike looking that should have been called ball, but called strike. I don't know what that was about. 2 balls and 1 strike with runners on first, second, and third. Bases loaded with 2 outs. Come on, baby. We need a cheap out number 3 here. Come on, baby. Come on, Mooney. 2-1 pitch. Here we go. That one's fouled off. 2 balls and 2 strikes with bases loaded and 2 outs. Mooney on the mound. Austin Wells in the box. Come on, Mariners. Come on, baby. 2-2 pitch. Low and at the knees. That should be strike 3. Right there. Strike 3. Ridiculous. Right there in the strike zone. Game over. And they call it a ball. Holy hell. Terrible. 3 balls, 2 strikes, bases loaded. It's like the ump is trying to make the Yankees win. There's no way in hell pitch number 5, the changeup was not a strike. It's right there in the zone, not even on the line, in the zone, in the box. It should be game over. Holy hell. This ump was pretty good up to this point. And just like that, the game should have been over. Wells singles to right, Bellinger scores, Grisham scores, Rice to second, and now we're at 5-5. Unbelievable. If anyone goes back and you look at the actual game footage, unbelievable. We should have won the game. That was strike 3. And then you let them go 1 more pitch, and then they ended up making the big play. Someone needs to check this ump if he's playing DraftKings. Son of a bitch. You got to be shitting me, dude. And again, it wasn't even one of those pitches that was like, oh, maybe it was on the line. It could go. No, it was literally low, but in the strike zone, right in the box. And the game should have been over. And then they let them go 1 extra pitch, and now he might lose. Fucking A, dude. You got to be kidding me. First pitch from Munoz to Volpe. Takes a strike swinging, 0-1 count. But again, that's what typically happens when you have umps that are cheating. You know, they let them go one extra pitch, and then sometimes one extra pitch turns into the play that, you know, ends up tying or winning the game. And I've seen some bad umping, but nothing like that. That was very blatant. And I don't know if people are going to be looking into that ump here later, but there's no way in hell that was a ball. If that might have been the most concrete strikeout that I've seen all year that wasn't called. Unbelievable. And then down goes Volpe, popping out here to center and flying out. But the damage is already done. Game should have been over. And now we have to pray that we can find a way to get this done. Unbelievable. I don't think I've seen that might have been the worst call I've seen all year. Hell, that might have been the worst call I've seen in the last 5 years. Not exaggerating. I don't think, you know, again, if it was on the line, I'm not going to bitch. You know, it could have been either way. But when it's in the box and it's not even touching the fucking bottom line and it's right in the zone, right down the middle, but just a little low, but it's in the box, and you call that a fucking ball? You got to be kidding me. It wasn't even close to being a fucking ball. Now we have to pray that others will step up here and we can find a way. But now we have adversity, and now they have all the Uncle Mo, sons of bitches. Next up, 1 for 3 with a run, base on ball, and a K, Randy Arozarena. Batting second, 1 for 4 with a run, three RBIs, and a dinger, Jorge Polanco, 3-run jack. And batting third, 0 for 3, Luke Rayleigh. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. Someone needs to check that ump for his DraftKings account. Unbelievable. Disagree, Emmett. That's a hater statement. We're not pretenders. We are contenders. You know, again, the Yankees and the Astros and the Tigers, you know, and the Blue Jays, they're good teams, you know. But again, you know, it's like this is a team game. It's not an individual effort. And again, pitch number 5 was strike 3. And the game should have been over. And even though Mooney was shaky, that should have been a win for us. So, you know, that's just a hater statement. If you think we're pretenders, you're not a real fan. We are contenders, and we always will be, especially with this staff. You know, again, it's not our fault that the ump, you know, has DraftKings and decided to call that a ball instead of strike number 3, game over. And then literally the next pitch was the RBI, you know, which always happens in sports. First pitch to Randy Arozarena, takes a strike looking, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, fouls that one off, behind the count 0-2. 0-2 pitch, and that is strike 3 on Randy Arozarena, 1 away. Damn it, Randy. Next up is Jorge Polanco. Top of the 10th with a runner at second and 1 out. Let's go, Polo. You're 1 for 4. You got the 3-run jack. Let's get it, baby. First pitch, takes a strike looking, right down the middle, 0-1 count. Sarah with a 5-er. Appreciate you. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks with a little cactus jack. Bang, bang. Yeah, but I mean, it depends on how long you've been a fan. You know, again, if you've been a fan for just a couple years, you don't know what it's like to be a fan of the Mariners, of a team that didn't make the playoffs for 20 fucking years, you know? Not all of us are built the same way. Oh, 1 pitch, takes a strike looking. No balls and 2 strikes with a runner at second and 1 out. We're knotted up at 5. And plus, when you play a team like New York, they're always good. Look at the payroll that they spend every year. It's not going to be easy when we play this team. But that's what makes the series fun. As Polo grounds out to first, Cal Raleigh goes from second to third with his dumper. And now we have 2 outs for Luke Raley. And Raley in play, grounds out to second, and that is out number 3. All the momentum has shifted to New York, but we're still going to have a chance, and hopefully they bring in Bizzardo, and we can use him. That would be the best way to go. Leading off for the Yankees, obviously would be potentially looking for a bunt in this particular batter, making his presence known. Oswald Peraza. Batting second, 0 for 3 with a base on ball and a K, Jason Dominguez. And batting third, 1 for 3 with a run and a base on ball, Trent Grisham. Again, for certain people, you can tell people that are fans of the Mariners for 20, 30, 40 years, and there's going to be fans that, just started watching the last couple years, and again, you have to realize if you're a fan of a Pacific Northwest team, it's not going to be all easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's going to be a lot of ups and a lot of downs and a lot of trials and tribulations, and most people are not going to be able to handle watching a team that is going to have a lot of downs. But once we, kind of turn the corner, there's going to be a lot of highs for this team as well. And honestly, even though Mooney didn't pitch well, we should have won the game with strike 3. That was called ball. And then the next, pitch was the RBI. So, what can you do? The ump, pretty much cost us the game. The game was over. It was strike 3, and it wasn't even on the line. It was right down the middle and a little low, but in the box. And he called it a ball. Next pitch, boom, RBI. So I don't know if the ump has DraftKings or what's going on, but that'll be something that hopefully gets reviewed, because that might be one of the most blatant non-strike 3 game over calls I've seen in my life. Yeah, we definitely need some more offense, more at first, more at third, and more in right field. That's for sure. And we need some more depth in the bullpen for sure. Bottom of the 10th, runner at second, 5-5, Mariners and Yankees. We can still win this 6-5. So, game's not over. We can still win this. But Brian Wu had a no-hitter going into the 8th and then gave up a couple hits. Brash gave up a homer, and then Mooney had a meltdown. And we got Gabe Spire in the game instead of Bizzardo. First pitch from Gabe to Peraza, takes a strike looking, 0-1 count. Let's go, Gabe. We need the good Gabe, not the bad. First pitch from Spire to Peraza, takes a strike looking, 0-1 count. Peraza in the box, pinch hitting, Spire on the mound. Yeah, well, they should have won the game. Obviously, when Mooney had strike 3, they called it a ball, and the game would have been over. And then it went one more pitch, and they hit the RBI. So there we go, 1 away. Next up is Paul Goldschmidt. Bunted in the air, and then good defense there by the Mariners. Good job. You already knew that they were going to be looking for the bunt there, just like I called. Bottom of the 10th with 1 out. Next up is Paul Goldschmidt. And they're going to automatically walk him. Intentional walk to Goldie. Next up is Trent Grisham. 1 for 3 with a run and a base on ball. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. For the mods that are in the room, let's get those likes up. See if we can get as many as we can here before the game ends. And I don't know what we're at on the dono train either. Hopefully we can get an update there from the mods. First pitch, high and inside, 1-0 count. One-0 pitch, takes a strike swinging, big swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike from Spire to Grisham. Global broadcast here on MLB Network. Bottom of the 10th, runners at first and second with 1 out. We're knotted up at 5. 1-1 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike from Spire to Grisham. Two 2-1 pitch, high and away. 3 balls and 1 strike from Spire to Grisham. Everyone feeling the pressure here. You know, Brash, Mooney, Gabe, and we still got Bizzardo. Yeah, but we're definitely not getting any of these calls. Nothing on the line. I mean, it's definitely heavily favored for the Yankees in this game, you know. Like I said, it's like I'm fine if there's bad for both, but when you start to prioritize the home team, you know, you're making it pretty clear who you want to win. And I don't know if this ump has got DraftKings or what's going on, but, you know, it's definitely like 90-10 in the calls. You know, it's that lopsided today. And there's a walk. Unbelievable. Bases loaded with 1 out. Fucking A. Now with Judge up. Jesus Christ. Sarah with a tour. Appreciate you. Stacks. Racks with some jack. Bang, bang. Oh, man. I mean, this one's on the brink of being over, especially with Judge up. It's going to take a miracle now. Especially with only 1 out. If we had 2 outs and we could end up getting him out, that's one thing. But, you know, again, not the best outing for Brash or Mooney or Gabe, but again, it should have been game over. Strike 3, game over. And, you know, wasn't even close of being a ball. And they decided to extend the game, and the next pitch ended up being the 2-run RBI for the Yankees. Unbelievable. It's going to take a miracle now to win. Not looking good. And I don't know if I would have went with Gabe Spire in this situation. I think I probably would have went with Bizzardo, but, you know. No, fly ball doesn't end the game because it's only 1 out. Fly ball, they tag up from third and they win. First pitch, low and away, and that's a strike, and it's called ball. What is going on with this ump today? I'm used to like shitty umps, but this is like one of the worst of the year. You know, we already lost bad in the first 2 games. Like, you know, what is going on here? What is this guy's, you know, prerogative? What's this guy's deal? Has this guy got like money on the game? Looks like it. 1-0 pitch, fouled off, high and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike with bases loaded. We're knotted up at 5. Monkey Kung Fu with a 25-er. Appreciate you. Yeah, hard to be able to get a double play with bases loaded, though. You know, maybe with runners at first and second, you know, you're going to be looking for the force out at home. And if it ends up being popped up, you know, and there it is, popped up, tagged up, sac fly, game over. Unbelievable. Final score, Yankees 6, Mariners 5. We get swept after Brian Wu had a magnificent no-hitter into the 8th inning. And it shows you how good New York is, but it also shows you when you have a terrible ump that they can dictate the outcome of a game. And a lot of y'all are NFL fans and college football fans, and we've seen this type of shit, happen in games before, right? Where you're, at the end of a Super Bowl, or you're in the AFC NFC championship game, right? And you end up seeing a questionable pass interference call that wasn't pass interference that gives them an automatic first down. Then they kick a field goal and then they win the Super Bowl, or they win the AFC NFC championship game. And I really feel like the ending of this game was kind of like that. It's like they ended up getting this blatant, flag on the play, and then the next play ended up being the play that won the game. And he's in. I mean, you don't need to really review this. I mean, Cal tries to tag him there, but brutal. Oh, man. Yeah, we definitely need the ABS. There's a rumor that they're going to have robot umps in the All-Star game for the ABS. I don't know if that's true, if we're not going to have the umps and it's just going to be robot stuff and whatnot. But I don't know if I've ever been so disgusted with an ump. And again, normally umps are generally bad, sometimes bad for both teams, sometimes favoring one team over the other, but I have never seen a game blatantly called this way, so one-sided, and there were so many pitches that we didn't get called to go in our favor, And then now we have to go to Detroit, and we have a 3-game set with them. And the last thing that we need is to get swept by the fucking Tigers and go into the All-Star break. And then we're going against the Astros. So, man, brutal. But I feel like even though, Mooney was a little wild there at the end, he did pitch enough to win the game. The ump is the reason why we lost. Even though it looked pretty bad there for Brash and Mooney at the end. If they would have called it correctly, strike 3, boom, we win. 5-3, game over. No discussion, no comeback, no 6-5 victory, no sweep. But I guess that's how the cookie crumbles here today. All right, any photos that I can get for the people that donated? Captain, Supa, Charles, Zay, Sarah, and Monkey Kung Fu. I can still throw up some photos for you guys if there's anything that you guys want to be able to see. And again, we're going to have the Tigers up here, obviously, starting tomorrow, and then a couple games on early in the morning that I'll do. But, man, I don't think I've been more disgusted, with an ump and in the game in this one. Brian Wu with a no-hitter going into the 8th, and then we lose 6-5 in extras? Get the fuck out of here. It wasn't just the Yankees that won this. They had some help, And I hate when, umps and refs dictate the outcome, and that's exactly what we got here today. Brutal. We'll bounce back, just unfortunate. And again, I would have rather lost the game if our team had a meltdown and then we could just say, hey, this was just not a good game for Brash and Mooney. It was the first time that they both played terrible, and then we lost. And then I would be a little bit more accepting of it, not that the ump, cost us the game on a crucial pitch that was game over, strike number 3, and then you call ball, and then the next pitch ends up winning the game for them, tying it up, and then we go into extras and we lose because they have all the momentum. I can't handle an ump costing us a game, like that. And it's the first time in 2025 that this has happened, where we had game over and they decided not to give it to us. So we'll bounce back, and I know, the Tigers are going to be tough. Then we got the Astros after that, but pretty brutal ending there. Captain, Supa, Charles, Zay, Sarah, Monkey. Anything I can get for Zay, Sarah, or Monkey, let me know. Appreciate all the love and support, and this definitely stings. But again, I think I would have been a little bit more accepting if I could just say, yep, Brash sucked today. He gave up the homer to Giancarlo. Oh, Mooney sucked today. After his last outing, he had 7 straight strikes and almost had an immaculate inning, and then he goes from that to this. But also you have to recognize it's the Yankees. They're a really good team. They know how to hit, and they can even make our best guys look silly. But I cannot accept the fact that the ump cost us that game with strike 3, calling it a ball, which would have been game over. And hopefully I don't see that ever again for the season. So no problem. David Segui, I got you. There's just no way in hell Brian Wu with a no-hitter going into the 8th and we lose 6-5. There's no fucking way that happens. But I guess it does here today, so. I agree. Out of, game 1 wasn't very good, but it was not as one-sided as 90-10 as today. It might have been 60-40, favoring the Yankees in like game 1 and game 2, but this one was not even close. I mean, there was probably 10 to 15 pitches that were questionable for the Mariners, including the strike 3 that would have ended the game, that was in the strike zone, not even on the line, and he called it a ball. And then next pitch, it gets the 2-run RBI, so. See if I can get a little David Segui here. David Segui auto. But also probably one of the first times that we've seen, Brash, Munoz, and Gabe. And I think I would have went with Bizzardo instead of, and that was a mistake. I would have went with Bizzardo instead of Gabe Spire. But again, I'm not the manager. That one's a little blurry though. Let's see if I can find something better. Got to find at least one clear image of David. That last one was too blurry. Let's see if this one will be better. It all depends on the resolution and whatnot. Oh, this one's better. Wow, look at that. You got to be an OG to remember David Segui. Trying to see if they have anything else that I can bring up, like an 8x10 or something. Oh, 8x10 with the auto. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot available for David Segui, though. Appreciate you. Anything else I can bring up for you? You got another player that you want me to bring up? Let me know. I got another OG here. Franklin Gutierrez. Man, going back. Goody. Oh, my. want to see the Segui, little Segui stats, Orioles, Mets, Expos, and then Mariners there. Oh, Kenny Easley. Nice choice. I got you. Hall of Fame 2017. 81 to 87. See if I can find an autograph photo, like an 8x10 or something. Okay. Kenny. And then here's kind of more of a recent one. Oh man, what a tough one there. Tough. Final score: Yankees 6, Mariners 5 and 10. Anything else that I can get for Captain Supa, Charles, Zay, Sarah, Monkey? Let me know. I know some of those individuals might not still be in the room at this point since the game has ended, but just want to make sure that I throw that out there. And then I'll go over the schedule here real quick of what we got in tune for tomorrow and the rest of the game. So starting tomorrow, we're going to be playing against the Tigers on Apple TV Plus, which will be pretty exciting. I like Apple TV Plus broadcast because it's got the 4K cameras. Castillo versus Skubal. Jesus. We don't even get a break. It's like we go from this heartbreaking sweep to fucking Skubal, who's 10-2 with a 2.02 ERA. Holy hell. That's not ideal. And then on Saturday, we play on MLB Network at 10 in the morning. Kirby versus Mize. Mize is fucking 9-2. Holy hell. And then on Sunday, we play at 10:40 a.m. And then we got Gilbert versus Flaherty, which might be the only game that we might win in that series, unless we get lucky against Skubal or Mize. So rough one. Well, I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys. very, very much. Shout out to all the people that liked, sub, donated, commented, shared. Love ya. Appreciate ya. Shout out to All Day and Captain for helping out with some of the mod duties. Captain, Supa, Charles, Zay, Sarah, as well as Monkey. Shout out to all of you as far as supporting the channel with the Dono train, and as far as all of the regulars coming through, even Matt late, Reflect coming in as well. Appreciate you guys a lot. Miss ya. And again, we'll be live tomorrow for Scooball and Castillo. Not going to be easy, but again, you got to have faith, and hopefully we can win 2 out of 3. Realistically, probably 1 out of 3. But again, you can always shoot for the stars and see where it lands. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys. Final score, Yankees 6, Mariners 5 and 10. And I got one question for you. Who you know talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Tridents up, and I'm out. Gang.